konbanwa, minasan, yokoso yoko yo. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Shrine Talk with yours truly, Inar Yoko. And today, our guest is a VTuber friend of mine, 48 Volt. Or, Volt.
Yeah, hello.
All right. Can you briefly uh, introduce yourself?
Okay, yes, my name is Volt. I'm a ghost VTuber with the power to control electricity. For context, I died when my father drowned me in a bathtub of apple juice, and I feel like that's all you really need to know about me.
I remember making the lore for my character, and I'm just like, okay, this sounds good. And then I
Yeah.
see others and their lore, I'm like, I kind of want what they're drinking.
That lore made itself.
The
That
lore.
was not me.
Fair enough. Okay. Alright. Put up the music. Alright. So, today's topic is generally about video games and what makes them good. But a little mini topic that's related to it, it's gonna be a bit about Breath of the Wild and Genshin Impact first. So, as you are all aware, Genshin Impact is celebrating its 1 year anniversary since it released. And to be fair, the event is still ongoing, so we're not really sure when it will end, but it is like being celebrated right now. And with one of the most popular banners it has had to date, I'm pretty sure MiHoYo is gonna work on just riding that momentum as long as it can. Right.
Yeah, probably.
But before we get to that first, we have to, address the elephant in the room. So, are you aware of the whole controversy revolving around Genshin Impact and Breath of the Wild?
I mean, I don't know about any particular controversy, but I would assume it has something to do with the fact that it's very similar in terms of art style and locomotion.
Okay, I can give you the TLDR. So when Genshin Impact was first revealed and announced in a game convention, I'm not sure where, if it was in Hong Kong, Taiwan, or China, I'm not entirely sure. But when it was, people immediately saw the similarities, and they basically just went to the booth, raised up their Nintendo Switches, and gave them the middle finger.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, ooh, that's a very vocal way of expressing your thoughts on the game. But then, of course, the
Okay.
game came out, and in hindsight, it's popular as hell now.
Right.
So they did do something right. But here's the thing, though. Even to this day, a lot of people, me included, we do find some things that does bother us about Genshin Impact. Not just its similarities with Breath of the Wild, but other games as well. But for now, let's just focus on the similarities of Breath of the Wild. So, I mean, as you said, the locomotion, the climbing aspects, the fact that you can just walk up to any climbable surface. If it looks like you can climb it, yeah, you just walk up to it, you'll climb it. I mean, the
Right.
stamina bar is very similar. It's not a circle, but the placement is conveniently close.
The gliding, of course.
The gliding, of course, yeah, the gliding as well. I'm just like, that's so Breath of the Wild. There's no teleport animation, but the fact that there's fast travel, and I'm just like,
I mean, that's to be expected.
That is
though.
to
The
be
fast
expected,
travels to be any game, really.
Yep. Like, there are similar. I mean, the cooking, it's not as nuanced as Breath of the Wild, but the system is quite there. It's almost
Right.
there. Like, you cannot mix and match ingredients freely compared to Breath of the Wild. But the fact that it's an option, I'm just like, okay. Like, but at that perspective, I'm just like, that's something they probably like took notes. Like, we should include cooking. But the other parts, I was very skeptical. I'm like, this looks more borrowed than inspired, but okay. All right, so it
Right.
seems our guest here is not entirely familiar with it, but he does.
I am not.
Yes, but you are at least aware to some extent why
Yeah.
the controversy is, well, there.
Oh,
So
slightly
general.
off topic.
Hmm.
Um, I'm looking at your stream. I think you have to turn the similarity down on my green screen
Oh,
to like 300.
yeah. Similarity. Oh, to 300.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try. Okay.
Yeah. That way I can have pupils.
Alright. Okay, my bad.
It's all good. It's all good.
Alright. So, what are your thoughts on the whole controversy? Like, do you think it's blown out of proportion, or do you think it's justified? Well, what are your thoughts? Any thoughts?
I mean, so I mean, it wouldn't be the first game to take, you know, like quote unquote heavy inspiration from another game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's just what really makes it stand out is the fact that they took so much from it, like in terms of like the art style as well as like the gameplay. I mean, the combat systems are pretty different, so they've got that going for them. But I mean, it's like kind of justified, but at the same time, it's almost like a standard practice in the video game industry to be like, oh, that's a formula, we're gonna use that and put our own spin on it.
Hmm.
So
Actually, yeah,
it's,
that
you know,
is
I'm
fair.
like mildly on the fence about that.
Hmm. I mean, it's not the first time this has happened. I mean, you look at when Devil May Cry was popular. God of War came out. Then Dante's Inferno came out. All of those games had very similar stuff. Like, you kill enemies, they drop red goop. You collect those, you upgrade your weapons, you unlock skills, rinse, repeat. I mean, the action-paced gameplay is quite similar too. It's combo-based, and I'm just like, I mean, to be fair, if you're going to make an action-based game, you're gonna look at what games have done that formula, succeeded, and, you know, take notes. And just give your own original spin to it. And to give a very modern example, or modern and popular example, just look no further from FF14 and World of Warcraft, I guess.
True. True.
I mean, Yoshi P himself said, the basis of ARR's formula and design and systems was based off on what we learned playing World of Warcraft for at least a month. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find an MMO made after World of Warcraft that didn't take some aspects from it.
Yeah, if it wasn't a direct copy, they took very subtle notes at least.
Right.
Okay. Okay, next question. Do you play other gacha games?
I have never played a gacha game in my life.
Ooh.
And you know what? That's probably for the best because I tend to wail in things that I get really into, like Final Fantasy, for example.
Ah, you want to share your experiences whaling in FF14?
Thank you for the follow, Ray Ray. Well, it just comes down to like I see something that I really want and I have no patience, so I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna buy it.
Can
I
you
just
give
want
an
it now,
example?
you know. Well, like the whale mount that they just released, the lunar whale with the 8 seats in it. I was
Wailing
just like,
for the
oh,
whale. You couldn't get
I
more
was literally
literal than
wailing
that.
for the whale. For like a month, like after they announced it, I was just every day I was like, when are they gonna release the freaking whale? I just want to buy it. I want to give you my money, Square Enix. I want an 8-person mount.
And you actually did it.
Yeah, like literally as soon as I could, I bought the whale, and it was on sale at first, so it's a good thing I did.
Ah, right. Yeah. Me, when it comes to FF14 whaling, I hate to admit it, but I am a Fanta addict.
Oh yeah. You know what? I try not to do that too much because I feel like my character has a certain identity. So I don't wanna change it
Same,
too
I
much.
agree. But like, my guildmates make it a joke that whenever I race change, they just see it as, oh, Yoko is just funding the next expansion. Thank you for funding the next expansion, Yoko. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're welcome, you lovable. As for me,
Yeah,
I used to. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I've been trying to stop spending as much money. Like there's like that that Sakura pedal emote that I have not bought, which I kind of really
Oh.
want though.
I see. I mean, they just released the pantomime emote a while ago.
Yeah.
It
Like,
looks interesting, but I can pass. I can definitely pass on that for now.
I just kind of want them all.
But if there's one thing I really want them, like if they sell it on Mug Station online store, I'm like, I'll buy it in a heartbeat. I want two things. Two things I want. I want Yotsuyu's dress, the kimono.
Oh yes.
It's so
Yes,
nice. The second, I want Lisa's red Stormblood dress. It looks so good on a monk.
Yeah. That is for sale, right?
No, the one that
No?
she has is the jacket and the hot
Oh.
shorts, but the dress that she
I thought
wears.
that they had that one.
No, if it was like, I wouldn't shut. I would shut up about it. But until they release it, I will not shut up about it. let's keep it at that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now onto the topic of gacha games. I have played one gacha game before, and to be fair, I only wailed on it once. And that game is Fire Emblem Heroes for one reason, because I am a diehard Fire Emblem fan. Like,
Yeah, I haven't played a game for Fire Emblem yet. I've been told to many times.
oh boy, how dare you say that in front of me? That's kidding. But if you want, like, if there's one thing I will brag about, I have played enough Fire Emblem games to give honest and good opinions. I'm not an elitist, but I can give
Right.
fair opinions. Now, if you want to enter the Fire Emblem franchise, I would recommend. Wait, you don't have a Switch, right?
No, I actually, now that you mention it, I do have a dono goal in the bottom right corner.
How convenient. Do you have a 3DS?
I do actually.
Okay.
I love my 3DS.
That's fine. Now, if you want to get into the Fire Emblem franchise, there are two titles I would recommend. If you want to play a Fire Emblem game to find out why, yeah, no, not why. What is it about Fire Emblem that people love about it? Like Fire Emblem in its purest form. You play the first localized Fire Emblem, which is Fire Emblem Blazing Sword.
Okay.
It doesn't have the bells and whistles that the modern Fire Emblem titles have, but it is Fire Emblem in its purest form. And it's the first localized one too, so you don't have to look for any, copies that have subs patched in or whatever.
Okay.
Yes. Now, second, since you have a 3DS, this is perfect. Fire Emblem Awakening, if you want to find out why Fire Emblem is so popular. Now, a little fun fact. Fire Emblem Awakening was supposed to be the last Fire Emblem title, because the Telia series, which is Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn on GameCube and Wii, did not sell particularly well. So Intelligent Systems was like, this is probably gonna be our last title, Awakening, so we're gonna get the best features we've had in previous titles, cram it all in here, and whatever innovative decisions we wanted to do that were viable, let's put it in here as well. So Fire Emblem
And then they
Awakening
made a
was
banger, right?
yes, Fire Emblem Awakening was insanely popular. It was insanely
goes.
popular, yep. So yeah, if you want to find out, well, those are your two choices. If you want to find out what makes a Fire Emblem game in its purest form, Blazing Sword for the Game Boy Advance. If you want to find out why it's so darn popular, or why people like me won't shut up about it, Awakening. And,
Okay.
yeah.
That would probably be more my speed, I'm assuming.
Yep. I mean, if anything, if you want my credentials, I have 2,500 hours logged in on Fire Emblem Awakening.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But if you had a Switch, I would have recommended Three Houses instead of Awakening, for the reason that Three Houses is a good balance of classic Fire Emblem and modern Fire Emblem. So you kind of
Okay.
get the best of both worlds. And to be fair, Three Houses has been very well received. Very well received. Okay. So, continuing on, man, tangent. But anyway, so
Hey,
I
that's what
did.
it's all about.
Yeah, I did warn you that I could spend hours talking about just Fire Emblem. All right, so as I was mentioning, I did play Fire Emblem Heroes because it is a Fire Emblem game. So I'm like, I have to try this out. Like, I know it's a gacha game, and gacha games are not my thing, but I have to try it out.
Right.
And to be fair, it was a pretty decent translation of the Fire Emblem formula into a gacha game. But of course, on launch, they were more focused on the characters, the popular characters, and of course the core gameplay. They had no room to innovate yet. But once popularity grew, and Nintendo did report that Fire Emblem Heroes did generate a lot of money for them. So that's when the dev team behind it was like, okay, we have to give this game the main title treatment, you know, add stuff. Like, they added supports, they added accessories, and I'm just like, oh boy, they are going full ham on it now. But of course, the only thing that's bogged down about it is the energy system, which I'm like, I just want to fight battles over and over again. I love Fire Emblem battles, but oh well, energy system. It's a very common thing in gacha games. And to be fair, Genshin Impact is no different. But to be fair, in Genshin Impact's defense, the energy system is only tied to content that rewards you with items and equipment and whatnot.
Okay.
But you
So
can
it's
just
a little bit more like an MMO where you have like limitations on how
sorta,
much you
yeah,
can
in a
get
sense.
certain amount of time.
But you can freely roam the map, play, kill enemies, look for treasure, whatever. Maybe even practice dungeons and trials, whatnot. And not get the
Right.
rewards just so the next time you do it you can. Like, people like me do it for fun, but of course most of the player base identifies it as a gacha game, so a lot of their complaints are based on that, and that's totally fine. All right, next question. So, as I mentioned earlier, Genshin Impact is celebrating its 1-year anniversary with one of its most popular character banners yet. If you're not aware, the recent banner, which just ended today, was the banner of Raiden Shogun, who is also colloquially named Booba Sword Lady.
Yes, I have heard of the Booba sword.
Yes, because she basically pulls a sword out of her booba.
Right.
And honestly, like, funny thing is, like, many people might think that, you rolled for her because of the booba sword beams, didn't you? I'm like, no. When I first watched the trailer, I found it hilarious. I'm like, okay, that's funny. That's so fan servicey, but it's a gacha game. You gotta pander to the fan serving material.
True.
But the moment I saw, like, who's the VA? I saw the kanji and the hiragana. I'm like, that's Miyuki Sawashiro. Oh no, they got me good. It's Miyuki Sawashiro. I have to roll for her. And roll for her, I did.
remember you talking about this.
Yep, I did. I sold 2 controllers. 2 controllers that I don't use because pandemic be like that. Back in the day, pre-pandemic, yo, wanna come over and smash? What? Smash?
Right.
Switch. Smash Ultimate. Smash Ultimate. Yeah, sure. So yeah, there's no reason for me to... Phrasing, yeah. There's no reason for me to keep more than 1 controller, so I'm like, you know what? I may as well share the love. There's some families out there that bought a Switch because, you know, Nintendo consoles. It's good for the family. Something for everyone. But controllers be not so cheap. So I'm like,
Right.
well, I take care of my controllers. That's one thing I brag about to my friends. Guys, you know how good I take care of my stuff. My secondhand stuff, they're practically good as new. And I'm quite...
I thought I took good care of my controllers, but then my PS4 joystick cracked in half.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Don't know how that happened.
So yeah, I'm just like, okay. I give generous discounts to, like, my friends who want to buy from me. And, like, for example, if a Nintendo Pro-Con goes for SRP is roughly like what, $60? Roughly 60 USD if I'm not
Something
mistaken.
like that, yeah.
I'm willing to let it go for like 40. Because I was like,
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, you're my buddy, it's secondhand, so, you know, we both win in a way. So I did that twice, and I got Booba Sword Lady. I got Booba Sword Lady. Alright, so continuing the question. Man, I didn't even tackle the question. Money-wise, it is a huge success. Like, no kidding. Money-wise. Would you say that amount of money earned or spent is still a good metric in judging video games?
I mean, there's two ways to look at it, right? Like, there's like the corporate marketing perspective, and then there's the gamer perspective. So, I mean, like the amount of money it makes means nothing from the gamer perspective, because if it's a good game or if you just like it, then that's really all that matters. But from the like marketing perspective and like making new content for it, making sequels, you know, like that is very important.
Yeah, I highly agree about that. Like, I guess the profits or the revenue is a good way to maybe not what's the word? Maybe not to judge a game, but to gauge it probably. Like, it would tell you a lot of people are buying it, so it can't be that bad, right? But like, just
I mean, to a degree.
to a
yeah,
degree,
you could
yes.
say that.
But like, for just like any other game out there, just because everyone is buying it doesn't mean you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
If anything, you might be
Yeah.
disappointed, like, damn, everyone's buying it, but I don't find it fun at all. Or, like, I get that sentiment. I'm like, if anything, don't take my opinion as a hate or anything. If anything, I'm envious of people who like, oh, damn, you can enjoy this really popular game. I wish I could, but I just can't. I just can't.
Yeah, that definitely happens to me on occasion. I mean,
Ooh.
I haven't played Fortnite, but I've seen people play Fortnite, and just from looking at them, like, this is not my thing.
I agree. Like, if we're just speaking the amounts of controversy behind, you know, underage kids getting their parents' credit cards, I'm gonna get V-Bucks!
I guess there's
V-Bucks,
that too.
V-Bucks, V-Bucks! And then I'm like, you just translate it. How often does it happen? And how often does that happen that the parents are like, you know what? I'm not gonna go through the trouble of refunding. I'm just gonna use this as a learning experience for my kid. There's some parents that do that. Good on them. But like, just to translate that for the kids that do it, you know, the amount of money they spend. But then
Right.
you add into the frame like gamers, content creators that like, yo, new patch is out, new costume, new skin, gotta flex it, cha-ching. So
oh no,
a lot of
I
people
feel
do
personally
that.
attacked.
Person.
That's me in Final Fantasy.
Ah.
I'm just like, new outfit, I want it.
Yeah,
$18, fuck it.
Yeah. Can't put a price tag on the outfit, but you can't put a price on flexing your damage or your mechanics
Yeah.
looking drip AF. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people have spent on Fortnite, but I just look at it, and it's not even the aesthetic that throws me off. If anything, I'm like, it's good the aesthetic is like that because it pulls. If there's one thing I will not discredit Fortnite, it's how it has made it possible that everyone can be a gamer. A kid,
Yeah.
your grandparents, a girl, a boy, full-timer, gamer, streamer, part-time job student, doesn't matter. Anyone can be a gamer. That's one thing Fortnite proved, and I'm glad that they did. But I just look
Yeah,
at the...
and I mean, that's been more and more the case. I mean, like, I feel like mobile games really kicked off that trend of, like, everybody is a gamer now kind of thing.
I mean, back in like the 90s or early 2000s, being a nerd or being a gamer wasn't cool.
Right.
Nowadays, like somewhere after 2010, being a nerd or a gamer was actually cool. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with anime. It used to
Same,
be
yeah,
you were,
same.
You were
Like,
shunned
"Ugh,
for
you're watching
liking it,
anime.
and now
What
it's
the
like,
heck? Like everyone's
now it's
watching
like,
it.
wait,
It's so
you've never
funny
seen
because like
Demon Slayer? What's wrong with you?
yeah,
Like,
no, it's kind of worse for me because like people back in my high school and grade school days that bullied me for being a nerd, playing games, watching anime. Once in a while they message me, dude, do you have any anime to recommend? I'm like, ha, you won't know. You want to know what anime I'd recommend? Bully got reincarnated into a weeaboo because he bullied someone who watched anime. Yeah, go watch.
You know what? I would believe that that's like an isekai title.
I know, right? One of those. It's one of those funny trends I want to continue, but I want to go full ham.
Yeah.
I got fired from my job, and I tried to apply for a new one, but I got isekai'd into a VTuber. I'm like, hey,
Yes.
totally. All right. So yeah, like it's a trend now that a lot of people are gamers, but because of Fortnite, it really has like, no, there is no argument anymore. STFU, anyone can be a gamer, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with being a gamer now. All right.
Right.
All right. Next question. Breath of the Wild had a new formula, system, and design that many loved. Wait. Before I continue with this question, have you played previous Legend of Zelda games?
I have. I've played most of the 3D ones except for Skyward Sword.
Oh, okay. That's a very common occurrence. I remember when I got Wind Waker for the GameCube, I got the last copy in the store, and back in that day, original copies were not common, especially for the GameCube, because most people usually owned a PlayStation 2. So yeah, those were more common.
I was lucky. I had a PS2 and a GameCube.
Yeah,
but I didn't have a lot of GameCube games.
I had a... Well, if I had any GameCube games, they were like the best sellers, like Super Mario Sunshine, Smash. Yeah. I enjoyed Star Fox Assault, and of course, Legend of Zelda. I bought the last copy, and then like the guy behind me asks for one. It's like, I'm sorry, but that guy over there just bought the last copy. He goes to me. I'm like, dude, can I buy your copy? I'll buy it for twice the price. And I'm like, so I go to the clerk. When will you restock? We don't know yet. Sorry, bud. Out of luck. I'm out. I'm out. He tried desperately.
Don't get to play Wind Waker today.
Yeah, when I got home, I opened it. It's like, ooh, gold disc. This is cool. And I had a blast with that game. So yeah, I played just about every Legend of Zelda title, just like you, except Skyward Sword. So a lot has changed when I first played Breath of the Wild. Like, other than the feeling of, oh my god, I'm playing a Legend of Zelda game 3D on the go. On the Switch. It looks so fantastic. Like, that's one thing that definitely wowed me. It looked so good, even on handheld mode. But yeah, so the formula has changed. I mean, a lot of people has even called it Souls of the Wild because of how difficult the combat can be. And
yeah, that's a fair assessment, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you compare it to previous titles, like, there weren't even health bars before. Enemies here have a health bar, and your weapons can even break, so,
Yeah, that system is very different.
And you compare it to, like, just, let's take Wind Waker as an example. You compare what enemies you fight there, and you compare the difficult mini-bosses or the strong enemy, like elite enemies, you compare those to the freaking Guardians of Breath of the Wild. None come close to the Guardians. I'm pretty sure everyone's first experience, what is this anxiety-inducing? Dun, 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 dun. I'm like, huh? What's this laser coming from? Oh, block! Shield destroyed. What? Beep, 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 beep. So yeah, Breath of the Wild had a new formula and everything, blew a lot of people's minds. Wasn't a complete success because some people didn't like that change. But it was a success enough for Nintendo to win their very first Game of the Year award, which is cool. What would you like to see remain and change in Breath of the Wild 2?
Yeah, that's a difficult question to answer because I do like most of the changes that they've made.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of what would I... Because there's so many different... Like, everything is the same, but it's different. Because, like, you still have bombs, right? But they're unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have, like, just a bow or a sword. You have to go and find all of those things, which I actually do like about it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing... Okay, here's one thing that I would like. And this is, like, a very minor change, I feel like.
Sure.
So this is already really a thing in Breath of the Wild 1 with the teleporting horse armor. I would like it though if you called your horse in a new like section of the map, if it would just like be somewhere in the map and then run to you instead of just your horse can't hear you. Like it's just really annoying.
But
to
Vault,
have to go to a stable.
Vault gamer moment number 42069. My immersion. My immersion.
Your immersion.
My immersion.
I mean, in that game, I don't know if immersion is really.
Yeah. I know.
Going for.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to ask for immersion, but then like you play Metroid. Are you really going to ask for complete immersion in a Metroid game?
Yeah, like
really,
you only want so much realism in
yeah.
your open world games.
Now, funny you say that. I was about to give a good example. Have you played Red Dead Redemption 2?
Okay, that was actually the first thing on my mind.
Awesome, you know what I'm talking about.
I love Red Dead 2, and when I played it through the first couple of times, I did not mind taking like, 10 or 15 minutes to go across the map on my horse or whatever. But like, if you play it all the time though, the game really is just riding a horse simulator with the occasional shooting.
But that wasn't a thing I was gonna talk about. I'm talking about looting. Like the first few bodies I looted for like money bullets, I'm like, okay, this is tedious, but it's worth it. After like the 10th corpse, like, screw it. I have like how many weapons? I'm gonna use all of them. I don't need to conserve ammo. Screw.
But if I recall correctly though, if you call your horse in Red Dead, it does just like appear behind you and run up to you.
Yeah. The distance is very generous, so to speak. It's not as strict as Breath of the Wild, but there is still like a limit to how far it can go before, no matter how much you whistle, your horse is just
What I would like
there.
to see though, what I would like to see in Breath of the Wild 2 is if they just adopted the Red Dead horse mechanics though for movement, because they're so good.
I thought you were gonna like horse.
No, not that, not that. We don't need to know the gender of the horse.
Yeah,
it's okay.
we'll just assume.
I want to be able to hold the button and have my horse like go sideways. You know what I'm saying? Without having to like change directions.
Oh yeah. And you know the drifting. I enjoyed horse drifting. I can't believe I'm saying this.
Yeah.
I enjoyed horse drifting in Red Dead Redemption 2. That was fun as hell.
Yeah, like they did the horse mechanics very well in that game, and I would like to see that go over to pretty much every game with a horse now. Like there's no reason not to. Like you've seen how to do it properly, so just copy that formula.
Oh, chaos with the big Hans.
Big Hans.
Man. Alright, for me, as to what I'd like to see remain and change in Breath of the Wild, if there are things I particularly miss that I enjoyed in the previous titles, I miss dungeons. Dungeons or temples.
That's kind of one thing
in particular.
That's like in the back of my mind. They sort of have that though with the Divine Beasts.
Yeah, but they're very small in comparison to previous titles.
That's very true.
Like entering, it doesn't even have to be the infamous water temple, but let's take the first dungeon in Wind Waker. What's it called? Something Roost Island?
Dragon Roost.
Dragon Roost Island.
I know what you mean.
Dragon Roost Island. You enter the freaking volcano and you already feel intimidated by the fact that damn, I'm in a freaking volcano. So, thank you for the hydrate, Skull. You can also hydrate if you want, Vault, by the way.
Oh, I've been hydrating intermittently. I'm good.
Alright, with coffee.
If you ever see my head tilt up at a weird angle, it's because I'm drinking some juice.
Okay. Fair enough. So yeah, like I really miss dungeons like that. I want that back. Second, this, I understand it exists to some extent, but I want it more pronounced, so to speak. So in previous titles, do you remember how you had key items like iron boots, grappling hook, hook shot, bombs, bow and arrow, and boomerang?
Hook shot.
And
hook shot would be really good.
Yeah. And to be honest, I understand that they do exist in Breath of the Wild through the Sheikah Slate. Like, you have the stasis, the magnet, the bombs, of course, and the cryo. And I'm just like, that's cool. But I liked having equipment I can use in combat, but they were also key items. Like, I don't know.
I agree with that.
It sounds difficult to implement, but at the same time, I'm just like, I wish this bow I had was more than just for pew-pewing enemies from afar. Because I remember in Wind Waker, like, if you wanted to get the song that allows you to teleport from just basically to certain spots in the map, you had to defeat a mini boss. And thing is, because that mini boss is in a cyclone, you have to hit it with bows and arrows. And I'm just like, that's pretty smart. And in dungeons you encounter later on in the game, you use that bow and arrow to do puzzles. Not to say that you don't do it in shrines. I mean, there are some shrines where you have to use arrows to shoot a switch or to light something on fire. Yeah, that works. But I want it to be, like, I want my equipment to be more important than it seems.
That's fair. Yeah, I would agree with both of those assessments.
This, I would say, is a bit of complicated ground. So, I was not bothered at all by the durability mechanic because in my head, I'm just like, the reason this exists is because you're not supposed to be actively looking for a fight. Because compared to previous titles, enemies are conveniently placed in your path. But in Breath of the Wild, with proper navigation and maybe a little bit of sweaty movement, you can bypass enemies. And to be fair,
Vanilla Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, in Vanilla Breath of the Wild. In Vanilla Breath of the Wild. I mean, to be fair, I can even argue at least in Relics of the Past, you kind of can. Especially if you.
To a degree.
To a degree, if you abuse the hell.
There are some spots that you can't.
If you abuse the hell out of shield surfing, if you have like a lot of shields you don't use, like you can abuse the hell out of shield surfing. The first jump is like, whoa! I'm just freaking Fox. Like I just flash Fox to a distance ahead of me.
I will argue though, there are some spots where it's just an open field and there's like 4 or 5 moving guardians.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do.
There's like nothing you can do about that.
You can probably just frame shield surf, run, and then do it again until you're not out of stamina, and then Link's like,
it's
he just keels over and dies.
Even on a horse, they catch right up to you. It's bad.
Worst thing is you might also get your horse killed.
Well, yeah, but that's what the horse god is for, right?
Yeah. Or the classic saves coming.
I would never. I totally haven't done that when my horse dies.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't save Storm. No. You also wouldn't harm my brethren Fox in Breath of the Wild too, now wouldn't you?
No, never. Those foxes and wolves, who would ever harm those for food?
Yeah. As for mechanics, I would be okay with them remaining. To be fair, I like the Sheikah Slate because your key items are problem-solving tools, not just for puzzles, but for combat as well. That's one thing I like. Like, you can slow-mo an annoying enemy, which is really important in Relics of the Past, might I add.
Yeah.
So yeah, slowing down an enemy on stasis just so you can get rid of like the ads or the small fries. Right. And then you're like, okay, I can fight you. Okay. Or you do those big brain like, aha. I'm a magnet your weapon away from you, haha.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Or creative use, like this is big brain. You those in the chat, Foxtrots and Vault's viewers, you've probably seen him do the sorry Vault, I'm gonna call it what I call it. Long bomb jump. BLJ. Bomb long jump. Yeah, you've seen him do the you've seen him do the wind bomb jump several times. That's just creative. That's not, I'd say that's an oversight, but that's also like understanding the game engine, how it works, the physics, and using it in a specific fashion. That counts as
you
problem
can cheese a
solving.
lot of shrines with that.
I have. When I
Yeah.
don't want to deal with gyro controls, I'm just like, oh, look at this. The shrine is
Yeah.
conveniently positioned at a cardinal, and there's a convenient ledge right in front of me. I wonder how to solve wind bomb. Bomb long jump. Let's do this.
Yeah, I've actually gotten quite good at doing it off axis as well. My aim is getting better.
Nice. So yeah, the Shiko Slate is one thing I'd like to see them keep, as well as, to be fair, weapon durability. Maybe
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
system.
maybe add a way to fix weapons instead of, you know, when they break,
Yeah.
you like pick another one. Cause
That
I
way
don't know
you
if
get,
it's
like,
just
something really good.
I don't know if it's a me thing, but I am personally attached to some weapons that I pick up.
Yes, I
Like,
get that.
I
for
remember
sure.
like I pick up my first Traveler shirt. I'm like, not 1 damage, it's 5 damage. And I'm just like, I don't want this to break. Can't I fix this? No, you can only look for one, pick it up, and then replace it. But this little guy has been with me since the Shrine of Resurrection. I don't want it to break.
See, I don't have that so much. It's really just like once I get to the point where it's like, okay, this is one of the best weapons in the game. I'm like, I don't want to use this though because it'll break.
Yeah, like what's the point giving you the best weapon in the game if it's gonna break? Like, use it because it's strong. Yeah, but it breaks.
Yeah.
So yeah, like encourage players to be more smart with their weapon usage, but don't punish players for, you know, picking up the best weapon. Like, incentivize at least, even if it costs like some ores, like I don't know, topaz, iron, maybe even some diamond, maybe. Like I know
Yeah, I
there's
could
some
see that.
weapons. There's some weapons you can craft with diamond, like the Hylian shield when it breaks, or the champion weapons when they do break. You can talk to the NPC that gave it to you. Like for example, let's say.
I didn't know this.
Okay, now you know. Now you know. So let's say, for example, Urbosa's sword and shield. If you talk to the general, she'll basically be like, get a Gerudo shield and a Gerudo scimitar, then give me 1 diamond each. I'll make it for you. So I'm just like, oh, okay, that's cool. But
Interesting.
I want that, but for other weapons as well.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah. Alright. So that's basically all I can think of right now for, like, I'd want to remain and change in Breath of the Wild 2. But if anything, if they can make Breath of the Wild the first Nintendo game to win Game of the Year, I kind of trust them with Breath of the Wild 2. Also,
Yeah.
hashtag playable Zelda. If they're
Okay,
going to
so
change,
that-
if they're gonna
Yes.
change a formula, just give me a few seconds here, Revolt. If they're going to change the formula, if they're going to change the damn formula, can they just make Legend of Zelda actually Legend of Zelda? It's called Legend of Zelda
is
for
very
a
true.
reason.
I would love to see that.
Let me play as Zelda if it's really Legend of Zelda, man. So yeah,
Get it
like
all out.
yeah, I had to just for that short period of time. Like, I mean, I saw the first teaser trailer and then I see Link get jazzed hand on one arm, and I'm just like, oh no, does this mean that like we'll play between the two of them for some parts of the game? And in one part we can switch between the two. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so what I would prefer if they were gonna do that is to have the option to play as one or the other, like pretty much at like any point, like you could just switch. But if they did it, because Nintendo is Nintendo, I wouldn't be surprised if it was more like Witcher 3, where there's like small segments of the game where you play as Ciri. So like there would be small segments of the game where you play as Zelda. And then, like, people would just mod it in later and switch the character models. Like
Yeah,
already
they
did in
totally
Breath of the
would. Or,
Wild.
you know, or the code. I mean, people have modded Breath of the Wild pretty well, so they can just easily get the code for Zelda. I mean, I'm not a professional modder, but if I'm just using basic, like, programming lingo, like if Link's character model file is this. Oh, that's easy. I'll just rename Zelda's to that, copy paste it, and voila, I have it. The game's gonna look for like Kara001.loz, and then I just name Zelda's model to that one. Oh, there's that file we're looking for, and then it loads up Zelda.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree that works, although sometimes it breaks.
Yeah, sometimes it breaks. It depends on the engine and how the game translates it. But in my opinion, I'm just like, if you're going to, don't force players to mod in Zelda just so they can play Zelda. Just make Zelda play.
Yeah, I would prefer, like, well, kind of like Genshin Impact, where you can just kind of like switch between characters.
Switch between the two, yeah. But I don't know, if I wanted to make a really good system, creative system for that, I would have a smart, I want to emphasize smart, a smart AI control the other one when you're not using them, and perhaps the durability system would be like, they would equip a default set of weapons that has no durability.
Yeah, I could see that, or just turning. Well, you can't really turn off durability unless you lower the AI's damage.
No, because that would lead to people cheesing it. Like, you know what people would do?
That's true.
They would just give Link every Guardian weapon plus whatever, and then they'll just play as Zelda the whole time because Link is just, you know,
well, that's why I was saying, like, instead of having the weapon change, it defaults the damage.
Oh yeah, defaults the damage. Yeah, something good. Yeah.
And that way it's not using durability, but it's also not broken.
Yeah, I don't know how they would implement that, but it's just, you know, something to throw out there. Okay, next question. Do you see Genshin Impact as a gacha game or an adventure game like Legend of Zelda?
So from what I've seen of the game, it really is just both at the same time. Like it even has like mechanics that remind me of MMOs and things like that. So I mean, it is a gacha game, but it's not like purely just, you know, like these are the PNGs, collect them all. You know, there is more to it, you know, there's like a in-depth story, you know, relatively deep gameplay mechanics and things like that. So I mean, there's more to it than just
I mean,
all the waifus.
You know the nickname, you know the nickname people have given it, Breath of the Waifu. Yeah. But I agree with you. There's one thing that caught me off guard, especially in the recent area that they added, which is Inazuma. The story writing is way too good for a gacha game, to be honest. Because most gacha games just suspend your disbelief because, come on, it's a gacha game. You're just here to play a game, not experience something special. But Genshin Impact, the story, I'm just like, damn, this story is good. But this is a gacha game. But I see it as I saw it day one, which is an open world adventure game similar to Legend of Zelda.
Right. And it really is just a combination of both. It's not really one or the other.
Yeah. All right. Last question for part one of this segment. So imagine Breath of the Wild as a games as a service model. Maybe quite similar to more modern titles. Do you think it would do well? Or if not, how should it be executed for it to do well?
So I have two opinions on this, because I do think it would do well and they would make a lot of money, but at the same time, I feel like that would detract from like just that like old school feel of a Nintendo game where it's like, yeah, there is DLC now, but like you get the game and you have the game, instead of just like, all right, here's the first chapter of the game, we're going to be like adding new areas and things like every, you know, like year or whatever. Like I don't want that in a Zelda game. Like, I just want to have the whole thing and be able to explore it.
Oh yeah, understandable. I mean, like, imagine if, like, have you played a Star Fox game?
Not like all the way through. Like, I've tried like 64 and stuff.
Okay,
like that.
cultured. Cultured. But like, imagine if like, oh, you have completed half of the Lylat system. The next half will be next month. No.
Yeah.
Like, of course, not something egregious like that. But if I were to think of games as a service features that might do well, I would think of like, you know how in the DLC where you get insane versions of the divine beasts.
Okay.
I would think of
Yeah.
that, but for like, I don't know, zones or something. Or if you know the Korok trials, think
Right.
that, but for again, more kinds of trials like that. I don't know. I don't know how to
like,
translate
I
that
wouldn't
properly.
want that. I wouldn't want that in a Zelda game. is
I
really
know,
the
but
thing,
I mean,
you know?
it's just an idea that sounds good that I think they can execute properly. But of course, it shouldn't be something that's important or core to the game's identity and mechanics, of course.
Right.
Like, you shouldn't be blocking, like, oh, the next half is Zelda segment. You wait for 2 weeks. No, absolutely.
Yeah,
not.
definitely not like that. That would be really bad. Like, that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't, because if you did something like that, like games as a service with a Zelda game, the story would have to like continue indefinitely, like they're doing with Final Fantasy, basically. And even in Final Fantasy, they're just like, all right, this next expansion is going to end this plot line, and we're going to start a different one after this. So it's like, there would never be an endpoint, and the endpoint in every Zelda game is beating Ganon. So you would never beat Ganon, which would be terrible.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Actually, yeah. The end goal is to defeat Ganondorf. Are we ever going to defeat Ganondorf? Ganondorf's like sitting on his throne with a cup of microtransactions. No, until Nintendo says so. No.
Yeah, like what they would have to do is like you're just constantly thwarting his plans instead of actually defeating him. But then it's like there would be no endpoint and it would be terrible. And if they ever did like an expansion where it's like, all right, you've beat Ganondorf now, it's like, what do we do from here? The story is over. What are we gonna like pull out some other like C-list villain from another Zelda game or something, you know?
Or Ganon pot.
Yeah.
The pots have had too much. They had a pot made from Gerudo Town, Ganon pot. And then just because of the pun, it pot busters you.
Yep,
Link
exactly.
screaming for his life. Wah!
Wow. That was like Mario.
Yeah.
Every time that I have to stop myself whenever I win bomb now because I just want to be like whipping from when I played Mario Galaxy.
Oh man, classic Mario
Yahoo!
platforming sounds are classic, man. Especially when
Yeah.
you've watched enough Super Mario 64 speedruns, those sounds are just in your head already.
Oh my.
I mean,
sure.
even in highlight videos,
Odyssey.
even
Just
Odyssey,
watching Odyssey because you can do like infinite like cap jumps and stuff like that. So he's just constantly like out of breath. He's just like constantly. It just for like 30 minutes straight.
and then people wonder, how is he doing that? And then Mario internally, I am Super Mario 64 speedrun in the future.
Yes.
I can glitch this game if I wanted to, but I'm just holding back my power. I cannot backwards long jump, but I can. But I won't.
Right.
Man, could you imagine Mario backwards long jumping into Bowser, and then Bowser gets glitched so hard he gets yeeted into like Mortal Kombat. All right, that's the end of
Brings up a
part.
question. Has Bowser been in a fighting game?
No,
Well, besides Super Smash Bros.
maybe as a mod. Don't underestimate modders, man. Maybe as a mod. Maybe someone has modded Potemkin to be Bowser. Who knows?
You know what? That wouldn't surprise me, actually.
Bowser!
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Alright, that has been part 1, so we're gonna have a 10-minute intermission. So, viewers from my channel and, of course, Volt's channel, if you have any questions relating to Breath of the Wild, Genshin Impact, or any video game topic for that matter, please do not hesitate to ask. Otherwise, me and Vault are just gonna talk about video games in general while I input the main topic of part 2. So, Vault, did you watch the job trailer of Endwalker?
So I didn't watch the trailer, but I did look at like the cards, the slides for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it hilarious that all that they did was give Scholar Peloton in combat, basically.
Combat Peloton. Yep, it's
that is just so funny.
It has been memed to oblivion, to be fair.
I was like, all right, so they're gonna have to buff Scholar, right? And then it's like, Scholar has Peloton. Oh, okay.
But honestly,
I did see.
Yeah, go ahead.
I saw like in the card for like healers in general though that it said something. What it sounded like they're gonna give like a card system basically to all of the healers like Astro has, because it said that there's gonna be like specific party buffs that you can give to single target players.
Oh,
which I find interesting.
But well, like in my opinion, as I said, it's just a trailer. We don't even know exactly what these things do. So until the game is out in early access, please withhold the sweaty, toxic, salty comments, okay?
For sure.
You can say that Scholar looks underwhelming, maybe even disappointing, but don't immediately dismiss that no one's gonna play Scholar on release.
What I think is going to happen really is that there's going to be a lot more like under the hood changes and just stuff that they didn't mention that are going to drastically change a lot of the jobs, more so than what they mentioned in this trailer.
Yeah, I mean, Yoshi P and Co explicitly have done this for the recent patches. They do not talk about the changes in fan letters, in fan fests, live letters. The only thing we'll know is during the patch. That's it. On the patch notes, that's when we'll know everything. But prior to that, they're not going to talk about anything because they don't want to set up players' expectations and then suddenly up.
Yeah. I am looking forward to Sage. I saw that it said that you heal at the same time that you do damage, which is one of my favorite things about White Mage.
Yeah, I saw I did notice that effect. Like one of the skills where it looked like there was a diamond shield on the side of the Dark Knight. Every time the Sage damaged, like there was a little heal effect. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and that basically is like, it's similar to Scholar's like Fey ability where they tether to a specific target and heal them with Fairy Gauge. But instead of needing Gauge, you just attack the enemy, which is what you're going to be doing the whole time anyway.
Yeah.
So that seems really good for keeping your main tank up.
Yeah. Understandable. Well, for me, I was supposed to reap through Endwalker, but then I saw the monk changes. I'm like, it calls to me.
I didn't look too in depth at the monk changes.
It calls
glazed
to
over
me.
it.
They have a yin and yang mechanic now, and perfect balance is no longer boot shine, DK boot shine, DK boot shine until you run out of charges.
Okay.
It's no longer Unga Bunga perfect balance. No, perfect balance is now actually you have to think. You have to be like you're active. Your monk is very active now. Thank God it is. And they changed their gap close no longer does damage, but they can gap close to allies as well. So I'm like, oh, so basically we are black mages too in terms of movement.
Yeah,
I like that.
See, okay, that's one thing that I did notice also with healers, and if it works the way that I think it does, I'm going to be so happy for White Mage. Is it said that it's going to speed up your damage spell cast timer. So like not the recast timer, but the actual cast timer, which would be, if I'm thinking it's going to be like this, it would be exactly like Astro, where it gives you just enough time to do an OGCD between each attack GCD, which would be so good for White Mage. Because White Mage has pretty much no way to open up an OGCD window without just losing damage.
Unless you're casting, what's it called, Dia? The dot.
Yes, but that's like not a great solution to that because you are still losing a significant amount of damage.
Yeah, because it's
by
not
just, like, reapplying
glare.
your dot.
It's not glare.
Yeah, that's the thing. But if I can glare and then Benny within a single GCD, that
That would be
is so
great.
useful.
Yeah. I mean, scholars be like, all of my big OGCDs are behind Etherflow, so I have been doing that for literally
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 expansions. I've been
Yeah.
doing my big heals in between my casts for 4 expansions, buddy.
They kind of debuffed that recently, which is annoying because Ruin 2 does less damage now.
Understandable.
Because it used to be that if you Ruin 2'd into a an energy drain, then it would be damage positive. But now if you Ruin 2 into an energy drain, I think it's either neutral or you're losing like 10 potency or something like that, versus just doing Broil 3.
Yeah, that's fair.
I am kind of disappointed that Astro is only going to be Diurnal Sec now, though.
Well, they had to fulfill the role of 2 regen healers and 2 shield healers.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure, just like White Mage, they have some shield spells.
Okay, so here's the thing about White Mage. You have 1 shield spell, and it's trash.
Yeah, but I mean, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, I guess. It's like not even worth 1 auto attack from a boss, though. So it's like, I don't know.
True, I mean, but you'd like to use it for a tank buster. I mean, if you remember...
No, actually you don't. The consensus on the balance is you don't have to put it up right before a tank buster, especially if you're clipping your GCD. You just kind of sprinkle it in whenever you have a window.
Oh!
Which is not often.
True. But, I mean, I'm just... Again, I'm not a sweat lord. And I mean that in a nice way to all the sweat lords out there.
I'm not a sweat lord, but I like to get a little sweaty sometimes.
True. Mood. But, I mean, like, I don't know. I remember T10. I'm Do Good. Was it I'm Do Good? Yeah, it was I'm Do Good. Wait, was it I'm Do... Yeah, it was I'm Do Good. I'm Do Good in coils. I remember that the prey marker, you had to cast Stone Skin. And I'm just like,
oh, yeah.
Stone Skin and Adlo. And I'm just like, interesting. They took out Stone Skin.
There is,
and people are like,
no Stone Skin.
Yep, no Stone Skin. And then suddenly, oh wait, we have a shield now. Okay. Like, whenever I do White Mage, that's one thing I instinctively do because that's how I see the spell. I see it as, it's Stone Skin. Like, of course,
Kind
like,
of.
yeah, because, I mean, like, you can never outshield a Scholar because the fact that the Scholar's Adlo can crit, like, there's no way you're beating that. But, to be fair,
if you
it's
crit low.
better than nothing. I mean, in hindsight, if you're in Discord with your raid buddies, and your tank says, "Oh crap, I don't have a mitt for this," you're like, "I'll let you survive this one. I'll let you freaking survive this one." You put the White Mage shield up. Like, see how
I mean,
you
it does a little bit.
You gotta
but
keep the party going.
What I would like to see is another mitigation spell like White Mage's Wings. Just one more. It doesn't even have to be a strong one. Just something else that I can do in between having the wings, because that is White Mage's only mitigation. And that's on a 2-minute cooldown.
Yikes! Yeah, the big yikes. Ooh.
And also, I'm doing Uwu right now with one of my raid groups, and I don't have my Temperance Wings because it's level 70.
It's level 70, yeah. Ouch.
Yeah,
buddy,
you also
ouch.
don't... Here's what's really killing me, though, is you don't have a Flatus Rapture, which is your Lily group heal. So I'm basically having to use Medica or Medica 2 for every single group heal, and it is killing me.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Still have 5 more minutes until the intermission's done. What's your favorite video game of all time?
Oh boy. I don't have an answer for this because I like so many games for so many different reasons.
You can give me like a number that you would consider sharing that privilege.
I mean, okay, so if we're going based on amount of time spent in a video game, I have spent the most amount of time in Final Fantasy 14 because I'm close to 3,000 hours now.
No doubt.
So, like, if we're going based on time and money spent, it would be Final Fantasy 14, I guess.
Okay.
But that's also like very recent for me though. I've only been playing the game for a year now.
And to be fair, it's expected. It's an MMO.
Right. But yeah. But I mean, as far as like if I had to pick like a single player game, for example, it's probably going to be a Persona game.
Oh.
But I can't choose which one though, because I love 4 Golden and I love 5 because it's harder than Royal, but I love all the changes in Royal. So it's between those 3 for a Persona game for me. And that's a very difficult choice. Like right now on my stream, I'm playing Persona music in the background. But it's probably gonna be one of those if I had to pick a single player game.
Okay, fair. That's fair. For me, I have like a top 5, games. Like, if I had to pick, it would be one of these 5.
All right.
One of them is Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Like the original?
Yes, the original. The tactical stealth espionage. That is the full title of that game, and I consider it to be the benchmark of what a stealth game is supposed to be. Like,
yeah, that's understandable.
And as a stealth game fan, I'm so pissed at the gaming landscape right now. We don't have any stealth games.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the last like really good like
purely
stealth. Like stealth game
stealth.
That I
as much as people are like, isn't Hitman stealth? Hitman is more of a puzzle game than a stealth game.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, it's it
I'd
could
like
be an
to,
action shooter if you want.
Yeah, I want to credit Izumi for that quote, by the way. Izumi, wait, was it Izumi? I think it was Izumi who said that. It's more of a puzzle game than anything. But I'm just like, yes, thank you for that quote. But we already know the whole situation of Metal Gear and Konami. There's no way they're gonna respect the title. Kojima is gonna do whatever he wants. If he feels like making another Stranding-like game, he's gonna do it. It's probably gonna be great. I had fun playing Death Stranding on PS4 and PC. This statement is obviously not sponsored by Kojima Productions, but seriously, Death Stranding on PC is such a good experience. Note that I didn't even say game, I said experience. Right?
Yeah, I haven't played it myself. I've only seen bits and pieces of the game, so I'm like I have something of an idea of what it's like, but also I feel like it's kind of a jaded point of view because it's like a lot of people like Donkey talking about how it's like a walking simulator and stuff like that.
At the core mechanic, it is a walking simulator, but this is Kojima we're talking here. He's not just gonna let you walk through stuff. There's still some game to be played other than just go from point A to point B. I mean, if you think about it, isn't every game a point A to point B?
To a degree, yeah.
To a degree,
I
like,
would
see,
say that's the case.
I mean, you look at Final Fantasy X. As much as I love that, like, people complain FF13 is a corridor simulator. I'm like, is it FF10 to some extent?
It kind of is.
For like until you get to the airship, what did you do? You follow the red arrow. That's all you did. You got random battles in between, but that's pretty much all you did. Come on, guys. I get it, but I mean, I don't get me wrong. I love FF10, but when you're gonna criticize FF13, be freaking critical about it.
So Chaotix says, and I think I'm interpreting this properly. He says fighting games, as in like they're not point A to point B kind of games. But I would argue though, they are on a micro level point A to point B because you need to get to certain spots to avoid certain attacks.
Well, for me, the point A to point B in fighting games is simple. Point A is maximum health. Point B is 0 health. That's what I need to do to the enemy.
I guess that's true.
But, I mean, if we're talking about Smash Lingo, then point A is the stage and point B is outside the stage.
That's also true as well for that game in particular.
Yes. But yeah, honestly, one is Metal Gear Solid. It in my opinion, it revolutionized like stealth as the full name. Tactical stealth espionage. That's what a stealth game should be like. Those 3 words. Like that's what it's meant to be. Number 2, it's another stealth game, no surprise. And I'm pissed that, well, half pissed that it doesn't exist anymore for now. Tenchu. Henshu.
I was literally going to bring that up. I was actually about to bring that up.
Vault, I am so glad we're friends. The moment you started internally nerding out of like this culture.
Yes.
Culture. Yes. Now here's the thing. Oh my
god. I played so much Tenchu Wrath of Heaven back in the day.
Oh my god. Thank you for saying Wrath of Heaven. Wrath of Heaven was chef's freaking kiss. Like me and my cousin, we never stopped nerding out on the name of the first chapter, Punish the Evil Merchant. When a new Tenchu game comes out, there has to be a reference to that legendary chapter, Punish the Evil Merchant. It's just so funny. I am a ninja here to, rid the world of the most extreme evil. One of the evils, the evil merchant. Yeah, punish the evil merchant. And I don't know, but like, a lot of people like strong female characters and stuff, and a lot of people missed it. But even the old retro games in the past, and excluding of course Samus, because
true.
I mean, Samus was one of those, cult gaming moments that, wait, Samus is a woman?
Right.
I mean, based on the name,
first gender reveal party.
Yeah, the first gender reveal party that actually succeeded and didn't end in a fiery explosion.
It didn't burn half the country down,
Yeah. But like, there are a lot of strong female characters that aren't just, tits and ass. And one of them was, well, come on, Ayame. Ayame is just...
I'm trying to remember her name.
Ayame is just badass, and she doesn't even have to try. I mean, she's a flippin' ninja with freaking twin daggers, dude. And the assassinations that she does are just rad. I'm just gonna ride your head, twist my knees, and kick it back into your chest. I'm just like, that's graphic and badass as fuck.
The whole time that I was playing Sekiro, I was just like, this is just Tenchu again.
Well, if you weren't aware, I'm gonna drop some knowledge for you and for your chat. If you weren't aware, Sekiro was actually a Tenchu game. Did you know that?
Like made by the same people, or what?
FromSoft was developing another Tenchu title.
Oh,
but because of how it evolved, and I understand what they did, this was the right decision. Because if they packaged it as Tenchu, I might have been disappointed. Even if it brought back the titular characters like Rikimaru and Ayame and Teshu, I guess. But like, the reason why they did that was because when they noticed how much the game has changed from what they envisioned Tenchu to be, they're like, guys, I think this is more of a new IP than a Tenchu game. That's when FromSoft...
the similarities are there,
that's when FromSoft made the very difficult, but honestly, it was a good decision, because, I mean, they won Game of the Year. We have to package this as a new IP, so they called it Sekiro. And props to them. Like, you just look at the grappling mechanics, and like, I can hear the classic clink!
Yes.
The classic clink and the really old retro sound effects of grappling. And I don't know, the fact that also you had tools. You also had tools in Sekiro, like...
Right. Hey. There's like so many similarities. And when I was playing this, like I was with a friend and I was like, did the same people like work on the dev team for this? Like,
yeah, I mean,
like we were looking it up and like...
People tend to forget, or maybe they honestly don't know. It's understandable. Tenchu is not particularly a title that has survived to the current generation. The only ones who remember it are the diehard fans that want another one. FromSoft did make that game. FromSoft did make Tenchu. So yeah,
the original ones.
Yeah, the original ones.
Oh, okay.
They did make those games, and I'm just like, oh, damn it. But it's alright. Like they got a big W with Sekiro. I mean, to be fair, if it means anything, that is the first game that I platinumed I don't
Oh,
regularly
okay.
platinum games, but that's the first game I platinum because I love the game that much.
I'm trying to think of what the first game that I platinumed was. It might have been okay, so this is the first game that I almost platinumed, which
Mm-hmm.
was Horizon Zero Dawn. I
Oh.
literally all I have to do is boot up my PS4 and go get 2 collectibles, and I have platinum. Like I don't know why I didn't finish it.
Oh, damn it. I had a friend in college that perfectly described it.
Yeah,
It's a task that
but
is so easy to do, it's more tedious than it is, and you're like, I kind of want to do it, but I also don't want to do it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like
like, it's
you know,
so
like I
easy.
gotta
All you
set up
have
the
to do is,
PS4, and
but I mean, I could, but I could be doing something else, you know? Understandable. All right.
yeah, but then recently I platinumed Persona 5 Royal, Persona 4 Golden. I don't think I did traditional Persona 5 though. I don't think I platinumed that one.
I'm not
But Royal was
surprised.
so dead simple to platinum. It took me like no time at all.
Good job. Good job. Addiction to be making games.
That is true.
Well,
You know,
we'll tackle
some of the
that
best
later
games.
in part two. I'm just ending
Yeah.
the transition, the intermission now. So I mentioned Metal Gear and Tenchu. Number 3 out of 5 would definitely be. Uh, it was supposed to be Fire Emblem Awakening, but because I played Three
Mhm.
Houses of all time, Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Okay.
It was like a perfect blend of classic and modern Fire Emblem. And the one thing I love about Fire Emblem is that the game has been the same from the first title to the current one in terms of what do you do. It's grid based, like pick a weapon, weapon triangle, whatever, and then up, and then it evolved to shipping emblem, which it still is right now, and that's totally fine. But at least it's not just purely shipping emblem. But I love the memes
Yeah.
that Awakening gave birth to because it was called shipping emblem. But other than that, Free House is a lot. Like it was the first. I'm not sure if it's the first, but it's the one Fire Emblem title I'm sure. Like I'm 99% sure it's the only Fire Emblem game that has New Game Plus, and that's like a big plus
Okay.
for me. Any game with a New Game Plus is a big plus. I like playing games more than once. Like I don't know how I would play Breath of the Wild with New Game Plus, but I mean,
I mean
Relics of
it's
the
in
Past
there
kind
with
of
the
done the
mod.
yeah, but I mean like I would like to tackle the whole world again with harder enemies, I guess.
You're already doing Relics of the Past on Master Mode, and you're like, I want more. What the heck, Yoko?
Well, gamer moment. Gamer moment. Pretty much. All right, that's number 3. Number 4. Number 4. Damn. Uh, Number 4. I don't want to.
Take your time.
Yeah. Number 4.
Number
Mm,
4.
number 4. Um. Mm, wow, am I really drawing a blank on No, no, no. Okay. People might have seen this coming, but Final Fantasy 14.
Okay, okay.
Because
I
like
would assume that was in your top 5
that,
somewhere.
yeah, of all time, absolutely. Because that game has checked a lot of things on my list that I rarely find in other video games. And one of
Like
them
what?
is music.
Ah, okay.
Masayoshi Soken is a god that I worship. That man
Yes.
is a master when it comes to composing music. You just watch the Endwalker job trailer, and the first song already, I'm just like, I want this song injected into my ears right now. I want to listen to this on loop again now. I mean, even the Endwalker trailer, people are like, "Can we have the full song right now?" The lyrics are
That's
jamming.
true. Yeah, that one is a banger for sure.
Yes, but honestly, like, although WoW has definitely shaped what an MMO is, FF14 just took that to the next level, like the next step.
Yeah,
I
they
think
set the bar basically.
WoW definitely set the bar for the core mechanics of a on the video game side of an MMO. It has to be rewarding, has to be challenging. The standard like good stories, good characters, good mechanics, fun gameplay, etc., etc. But FF14 included a step that Blizzard should really take note of, and that's experience. Player experience. The fact that you can have your own house, a house for your guildmates, you can get married, you can indulge your gambling addiction without losing real money, you can play mahjong, which I actually do know how to play mahjong.
I don't.
I can teach you one of these days so we can fight each other in Doman Mahjong.
You already kicked my ass in Guilty Gear. Do we need another one?
Hey, if there's one thing, I don't kick your ass in Guilty Gear just so I can dumpster you. I do that so you can get better, so that we can have more fun with each other, man.
I'm so out of practice right now. I have a Guilty Gear stream tomorrow. I'm about to
I'm looking for it.
Mop the floor with.
Don't worry, I have class tomorrow, so maybe after that I'll just play a few skirmishes with you.
I haven't played it in weeks.
Nah, it's alright, buddy. I had that same experience with Tekken 7 recently. Recently I'm like, crap, I need to play this game more again because I'm obviously rusty. Alright, that's number 4. Number 5. Number 5. Okay, number 5. Oh, Jesus, why did I even think? Valhalla. VA11 Hall A, or as it's called, Valhalla.
I don't think I'm familiar.
The caption is Cyberpunk Waifu Bartender Simulator.
I see.
Let me type the full name in chat, just so you guys are introduced to one of my favorite games of all time. The good thing about this game is that it is on all platforms. Even on Switch. I love that game so much, I double dipped on Switch. The mechanics are very simple, and it's made by in development in the studio. But the amount of love, detail, and care that game has been given, it shows. It really does show. And as a gamer that really prioritizes music, good lord, I can speak volumes of how good the music in that game is. The music is outstanding.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at it on Steam right now. A game like this needs good music.
The gameplay is very simple, but the amount of creativity you can inject to that is really good. And to be fair, you do feel like a bartender. You will feel like a bartender in that game. All you're doing is mixing drinks and changing lives, but you really do feel like one. Alright, so with that, let's move on to part 2. Part 2 of this episode is video games, what makes them good. So yes, we're going to be talking like critics or analysts maybe, but the ones that you can actually trust. Wink, wink. Alright, so
wink?
Currently, people find it hard to trust big gaming journalist websites like IGN, GameSpot, Kotaku. Why do you think that is so?
I mean, okay, there's the obvious aspect of like money, developers paying big companies to give them a favorable review so that people will buy their game right off the bat. And I mean, the game reviews are still important, even if the hardcore gamers are like, well, I don't look at the IGN reviews or whatever. It is still important for general sales. Like, that's why when a game is really bad and there's a review embargo, you're just like, okay, I know what's going on here. I'm not gonna buy that game. At least not at first, until I get like some actual opinions.
That is fair. Usually it is the corpos doing the I'll pay you for a good score.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to state it as fact, but one of the worst experiences of this thing being speculated is... This is a title I was ready to defend. I was ready to defend it with my heart. But when the game came out and I played it, I'm like, I cannot defend this game. No one can pay me enough to defend this game. And I am talking about The Last of Us 2.
Oh,
now here's the thing. Even when the spoilers came out, I didn't watch the spoilers. And I have this innate ability, unique ability. I can be spoiled anything, but I can just tell myself, hey, forget about what you just watched. Okay. And when I get to that segment, I'm like, oh, it's like the first time I've ever seen it.
That's like 50-50 for me. Sometimes it happens.
So I was ready to defend it because I'm like, guys, these are spoilers. I mean, it's almost like, okay, spoiler alert, not Last of Us 2 spoiler alert, but this is Star Wars spoilers from episode 5 for fuck's sake. So,
oh, okay.
All right,
from
episode
the 80s.
Yeah, for the 80s, okay? Spoiler alert. So, yeah. So imagine someone just walks up to you. Let's say you've never watched an episode of Star Wars, and they're like, "Yo, did you know Darth Vader is Luke's father?"
Did you know?
Did you know? Damn, like, yeah, your day is ruined. But here's the thing. Although you were spoiled, you did not experience that information the way it was intended to be expressed to you. It's different when somebody tells you, yo, Darth Vader is Luke's father. And then the movie reveals to you that Darth Vader is Luke's father. It's completely different. That was my one argument. Like, okay, I know what happens to this character in Last of Us 2. Yeah, I kind of saw that coming. But here's the thing. We don't know the build-up to it. We don't know how the developers intended for us to experience it. Boy, oh boy, was I proven wrong, and have I never been so sorry that I was proven wrong. When that moment
I've heard
came,
a lot of bad things. I have not played Last of Us.
And
2,
let me
but I've
just
heard a lot of bad
argue
things.
for, look, I have friends who are Last of Us 2 fans, and I have friends who absolutely despise that. Now, I am not a person that likes putting a grade on a game like X out of 10. That's not something I don't consider it a reliable metric. But I honestly do not see the game as a 10 out of 10. But I also do not consider the game to be a 0 out of 10. At best, maybe a 7 or a 6 for me.
Okay.
But I'll briefly explain that later. But here's the thing. So, that moment happened in the game, and I'm just like, where's the build-up? Where the heck is the build-up? I was ready to defend this, but I'm just like, I can't. I absolutely cannot defend this game. If I defend the game, and my friends trust me, if I defend this game in the worst aspect of it, they're gonna call me a liar and a sellout, and I can't even blame them if they do. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like, in Last of Us 2's defense, there are a lot of things that stood out for me in a good way. The attention to detail, in particular the sound effects, was top notch. The graphics also was like, this is PS4 graphics. If you put this on a if this was labeled as a PS5 game, honestly, you could mistake it for a PS5 game. The graphics were that good.
Yeah,
Maybe
Naughty Dog is like really good at making the PS4 like work to its best potential, which is crazy.
Yes. I mean, Uncharted 4 and the spin-off with Chloe Frazier, that was a really good game too. It looked really astonishing.
Because the PS4 is not a powerful system at all. It's actually like one of the weakest systems in the past 2 generations. And so it's like really surprising what they're able to pump out with that particular studio.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, like, so I played the game from start to finish, and with all of the flaws in its story and narrative, and honestly, anyone can argue with me the numerous arguments I've heard before. It's not about Joel or Ellie. It's actually about this character. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, but did you guys not play the first game wholeheartedly? There's like...
Yeah. There's an attachment to the characters that you get from playing that.
And they're like, that's the whole point. They wanted you attach yourself to the player so that when the character, so that when something happens to them, you feel, you feel really bad. I'm like, I get it, but here's the thing. They could have killed off a particular character in any way. They could have shot the character, let a clicker eat the character, chop their head off, club them to death with. It doesn't matter. They had it coming, but that's not even the thing I hate about that scene. But I'm just like, the build up. There's so many character breaking segments before that segment. I'm like, do you expect me to believe this to be a plausible thing to happen? It's just suspension of disbelief on top of another suspension of disbelief, and that just keeps building up. And I'm like, you naive buffoons! Like, what happened? I played the first game and it was really good in terms of narrative, and then it's just shot out the window in the second game, and oh my goodness, I'm just like, this can't be real. This can't be real. I have to be dreaming right now, right? And I look at the clock. It has the minute hand and the hour hand. I'm like, nope, I'm not dreaming. Definitely not dreaming. This game is real.
It has both hands. It's real.
I reluctantly played it from start to finish, and I still gave my honest view in it, and I'm just like, how is it that over 50 websites gave this a 10 out of 10? You have to be lying to yourselves. You have no dignity. You have no soul if you give this game a 10 out of 10. I would have call it nitpicking. If you gave it a 9, I would have been like, that's fair. But calling this a perfect masterpiece is a sin. All right, it's not a perfect masterpiece. And you can oh yeah, what for you is a perfect masterpiece? It does not exist. There is no perfect video game. Every video game, no matter how perfect we claim it to be, there is a flaw. And I'm not talking about small flaws. Like, these are significant flaws, but the big good parts of it overshadow it, that you can just put it on the side and forget about it. But God, you cannot give this a 10 out of 10. You just can't. I mean, even games in the past, like, people consider Witcher 3 to be, it's the best, perfect game ever. I'm like, close. I'm like, close, but it's not perfect. I would call it.
It is very good, but there are some significant flaws with that game.
I would call it the closest thing you can get to a masterpiece, because it does so many things right. If there's one thing about Witcher 3 that a lot of people don't really talk about, it made the worst thing in the gaming industry the best thing about the game, the DLC. And I'll just sum it up really quickly so that I don't lose my mind and my energy just ranting about this, because oh my god, it's bothering me.
So get it off your chest. You maybe take a deep breath.
You play Witcher 3 from start to finish. Is there a resolution? Yes. Is the game complete? Yes. Is there a new game plus so you can play it again? Yes. What's the DLC for? It's if you want more from the game. That's basically it. That's like you ordered. It's like you ordered a meal from McDonald's and you're like, yeah, I want a quarter pounder with cheese, large fries, a large drink. I'm good. And then the DLC's like, I want the chicken nuggets too. I want.
Wait. I have a counterpoint though, because the DLC for Blood and Wine does put a really good bow on the story with his family though.
Yeah. See, but I completely agree with that. Thank you. But I'm just like, see, it's not like the DLC completes the story. If anything, it makes the base game even better. Like, wow, like, oh my god. I mean, there's resolution at the end of the base game, but you play the DLC, you're like, oh my god, this is very heartwarming.
Yes, exactly.
And of course, like, one of my favorite quests in the DLC was the whole Roach quest, and I got teary. I got, call it sappy, I don't care. You play through the game, and then you play that side quest. You tell me you can't get teary-eyed at least. So I got teary-eyed. I got teary-eyed when at the end of Roach's quest, Geralt looks legitimately like, damn. I don't want this to change. I'm like, dude, that's such a mood. I'm like, your long time companion Roach, you got to talk with him, and he has this out of character goofy voice, but he's just the voice of reason. He's almost like us. He's like our voice, and eventually he's back to neighing as a horse, and Geralt's like, damn, I wanted someone to talk to. I was like, damn. So yes, DLCs are commonly like the worst part of a game. It's so... Here's the thing, it's not... I mean, DLC is just another feature of a game. It's not inherently bad. It can be good, but for some reason... No, I'm lying to myself saying for some reason. For obvious reasons, publishers just choose to use DLCs for the worst reason ever, which is your money. Your freaking money.
Right.
And to give an example, one of the worst things I've ever seen recently was Yakuza 7, Like a Dragon. I love that game so much. But did you know that in the Japanese, like, in the pre-localized version of the game, New Game Plus was a DLC?
Oh, really?
New Game Plus was a DLC. And
Yeah,
one of the
Yakuza is like one of those franchises that's on my radar, but I have not played yet.
Oh, I recommend you play it. Anyhow, one of the worst ever practices of a DLC, and I don't count microtransactions as a DLC. That's another topic altogether.
Yeah.
The worst DLC ever. The true ending of a game was DLC. I'm talking about Asura's Wrath. And this was when Capcom was this was when Capcom was called Crapcom. And I can't blame them for that, because their DLC practices back in the day were just atrocious. Yeah, true ending of this game, you want resolution? Pay up. Like, are you effing kidding me? AAA company with award-winning titles in the past, you have no reason to pull off this BS. Honestly, you have no reason. So, one aspect is the corpos getting involved in the review. Here's another thing. Have you actually ever watched a review from IGN, GameSpot, Kotaku? Like, have you watched them?
I don't know, actually.
It's okay. Here's the thing.
I may have sat through one at some point, but
it's one
I don't
of the
remember it.
best, cringiest, funniest forms of entertainment you can get. Because it's kind of like when Carl Jobs saw a YouTube content creator try to fake a speedrun of Super Mario. It's hilarious.
Right, yeah.
This one is just as hilarious. When Xenoblade Chronicles Remastered Remake came out for the Switch, they reviewed it. And thing is, IGN has, for some reason, a thing against JRPGs. A lot of the JRPGs that they have played that other companies have given like a 9 or a 10, they give a 7 or an 8. I'm like, huh? What? I mean, even Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, a lot of people like to talk crap about the last few chapters for understandable reasons, but every other part of that game is really freaking good. Now, any Final Fantasy VII loyalist can be free to argue with me, that's fine. I'm open to argument, but I'm not saying that it's a fact that it's really fucking good. I'm saying I found it really freaking good. A lot of people found it really good. That doesn't mean that your opinion is invalid. No, absolutely not. Anyone is entitled to their opinion. But if there's one practice I wish was normal, but for some reason it's not, do not let someone's enjoyment, be an attack on your opinion. Like, how dare you enjoy this game I hate? Come on. Seriously, like, come on. How would you like it? Like, how would you like it if you were enjoying? Like, I'm enjoying this game, but it's bad. Yeah, but I have fun with it. I'm having fun with this game, but it's bad. because it's so simple, it's so easy, and the graphics are so bad, and you can cheese it, and the character writing is so weak, and it's so weeaboo AF. But it's fun though.
I feel like I feel like this whole Shrine talk was you waiting for this rant.
No, no. I have done this in the past and in real life. It's just that this question gets me. All right, but here's the thing. So I watched the Xenoblade Chronicles review of IGN. I don't know if they took it down, but there's a reason why the dislike ratio is really bad. It is very obvious that whoever reviewed the game did not play this game at all. Or if they did play it, it was half-assed. You know why? It's not even because they don't look like they know what they're doing. No. That's like an understandable part. That's like watching someone review Sekiro and they keep dying over and over. That's understandable.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's the point. It's called die twice. If you don't die twice, that's an achievement. But if you die twice, that's acceptable and expected. But here's the thing, when you can't even get the name of your own party member right, something is clearly off. And you're like, but...
Well, and that's like a point that I've noticed with a lot of these like really big video game company reviews is like, they don't actually spend the time to do the journalism behind reviewing a game. And like they just kind of throw something out there real quick.
You know what's sad?
Extra time
like, you know what's sad even? Like, it's one thing to get the name wrong by a mile, but it's not like it's in the 90s or early 2000s. Like, wait, how the hell do I say this character's name? They don't say it in the game, and no one knows how it's pronounced.
Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 14.
Wait, is it Titus or Titus? Because he's a character you name. It can be, you can name your character Dick Butt if you wanted to, but Titus or Titus, how is it pronounced? So unless the characters call it, you don't know how to pronounce it. But this character in Xenoblade, Dunban, he is pronounced several times in the freaking game, and you can't even pronounce it remotely properly. What the heck? Like, come on! You couldn't even spend 10 seconds to look at somebody, like another content creator's video, like, before you buy, or first impressions of this game. You couldn't spend less than a minute to find out how to say this character.
Yeah, or I mean, even just like day one, there's usually like just like wikis about characters and stuff, and it'll usually be like,
so,
this
like,
is how you pronounce the name.
This is the reason, in my opinion, why a lot of people find it hard to trust big gaming journalist websites. Like, yeah, they
just don't.
These
they don't do the necessary work.
These reviews don't look like they're for us. It looks like they're just for the the shareholders. Because if a review, if a game is reviewed really well, the company behind it gets funding. They get more money, and who doesn't want more money? Yeah. It's a rinse repeat.
Just somebody just like looking up like reviews of a game and then clicking on the website, that automatically gives them ad revenue. So, I mean, just having a review up is going to make them money regardless of if somebody even watches or reads it.
So, yeah, I mean, like, it may have been acceptable in the past where games have been very simple to review. There's like, is it good? Like, the answer even of is it good? Is this game good? Is this a 10 out of 10, a 9 out of 10? It was easy to answer before, but not so now. Because games have changed. The gamers, not just games have changed, but gamers have changed. Our standards and what we look for in a game is very different from before. And
this is true.
To be fair, we just want people who review the games to understand that. We take the time to play a game from start to finish. We want to see that when you review a game we are going to play from start to finish. So if you're gonna call this game crap, we want to see that reflect in your review. Like, what made you say that this game is crap? They give you a list, like, we played through this part, blah blah blah, and they actually show you like, oh, okay, that is a credible point. We need to see more of that from not just big gaming articles, but content creators out there. They have been they have been doing that recently. Like more content creators don't even do a score system. Like
Yeah,
if I were
yeah.
to
A
give
lot of the smaller creators, they'll just give you their opinions and not necessarily a number.
yeah, one YouTube channel I watch because they have a good metric. It's called Before You Buy by Game Ranks. Because that's exactly what it is. It doesn't even tell you is this game a 10 out of 10. No. It basically tells you this is what you might want to know before you buy. Simple as that. In my opinion, reviews don't have to be that exact kind of metric, but it should have a perspective like that. They're not going to
Definitely.
highlight the good parts. No, they're going to tell you this is the game's strongest points, this is the game's weakest points. Caveat, the person who reviewed this is an RPG fan, blah blah blah. You know, just perspective. And like in this game is an installment in the franchise that we have played before, so we know what we're talking about. That extra context that takes 5 seconds can make a difference to
Right.
people who are watching a review. But it just seems to me like journal articles nowadays just don't give a crap about that anymore. That's why we.
Yeah,
That's why I
I don't think that their main prerogative is to review a game well. I think it's just to get a review out there because they're going to be making money on that either way.
That's why whenever a game gets so many 10s out of 10s, I'm just like I'm suspicious. If it didn't get any word out about it, I'd be much less suspicious. If I saw some
Yeah.
like if I saw some like 8s out of 10, 9s out of 10, I would have trusted that. I mean, to be fair, recent title, Tales of Arise. A lot of companies have given it a 10 out of 10, but there are also some that have given it as low as a 6. And I'm just like, I know why they gave it a 6. That's totally understandable. Like, whenever I see a 6 among the 10s or 7s and 8s among the 9s, I'm like, okay, this has been properly reviewed, in my opinion. Because there's
Right,
no
they
way.
actually
There
took the
is
time
no
to
way
try to
a-
understand the material.
Yeah, there's no way a game is a 10 across the board. No way. Like, when I say across the board, like, let's look at Breath of the Wild. There's so many areas that are 10 out of 10. But you take into context the previous titles, there are a lot of things they just disrespected. In the most frank way possible, they just disrespected it. I mean, the fact that there's a durability system, like, huh?
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean,
it's
I wouldn't say that's necessarily a disrespect.
it's not a
to the old
disrespect, but
games.
it did divide the community. Like, because it
Yeah.
divide the community, do not review the game as if the community is going to love it as a whole. No, there's no way. If you
Yeah,
understand
you
the
have
game,
to have both perspectives in there. Like,
Like-
you have to look at the game in a vacuum and also in the wider context of the franchise that it's in, especially a franchise that's like as old and popular as Zelda.
so yeah, I think nowadays, if there is anyone from IGN, GameSpot, Kotaku, whatever company watching this stream, at the low chance that there is, the stream or the VOD, just take my honest opinion on this. This comes free of charge. People are not looking for good reviews or bad reviews. They are looking for honest reviews. They just want an honest take on a game. They just want a really honest take. That's all they're looking for. And I
Right.
understand, but people paid us for that. Okay, but you don't even have to tell us because it's very obvious when that happens. So
I
forgive.
mean, well, I think that they do have to disclose. Well, I guess, well, it might be different if they're just getting like paid for the review, but I know for advertising, like you have to disclose that you're sponsored.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, like, it just shows, and the fact that it has been showing it repeatedly across titles, I'm like, do you want gamers to do these review themselves? Because it doesn't look like a gamer actually reviewed this game. It looked like a journalist.
Well, I mean,
reviewed
that's
this
kind
game.
of the case, really, is that you know, with like YouTube and things like that, like people are just going to those content creators that are independent and seeing what their opinions are, and you know, like a lot of the bigger YouTube channels as well will get copies prior to release so that they can actually get a coherent you know, review out on day one as well.
Yeah, I mean, that is understandable, but it's just really disappointing when I see so many of that in modern titles, by the way, in recent titles. I thought it was just going to be a trend, like because video games are the in thing now. It's gonna take a while for articles to get hold of how to properly review games, but no, they just haven't been doing it properly at all recently. There's no signs of that. Rarely does it happen, and that's the scary part. Like, I've seen better takes from content creators than actual reviewers.
Yeah,
That's
and honestly
a
though,
sad
that's
part.
kind of just the direction that everything has been going though, is straying away from traditional media and going to, I don't know if crowdsourced content would be the way to put it, but like content that's just made by individuals and not made by a company.
I mean, imagine if you trust a foodie more than you trust a food critic. Just how sad is that?
I mean, to some degree though, that is kind of the case though, because food critics, they don't always have an opinion that is going to be shared by the general masses. Like it kind of is the same story with that as well.
True,
You
true,
know,
true.
like you don't always go to the professional critics for opinions on things. Sometimes you just ask your friend what they thought, and that's enough for you, you know?
Yeah,
And that's kind of the same
absolutely.
deal. That's kind of the same deal with like independent content creators, like especially once they get a reputation as having opinions that you tend to share with them. Like you're
Mm,
gonna go to that person and watch their video and be like, okay, so I'll probably enjoy or not enjoy this game for these reasons. And that's gonna be, I don't know if personalized is the right way to put it, but because you can pick and choose whose opinions you agree with more, it's going to be more personalized by you, you know?
absolutely. I 110% agree on that. And I mean, yeah, to be fair, as you said, like the way a food critic consumes food is different from a foodie, to be fair.
True.
And of course, the purpose of a food critic might be different from a foodie. Yeah, that's fair. Maybe the metaphor I chose wasn't exactly perfect. But the point I'm trying to drive here is that you'd think that a gaming journalist, I mean, because I'm just coming from the experience where I actually trusted gaming magazines I had in the past. Like, I used to collect gaming
Mm,
magazines that rated games and I actually trusted them, and they were usually right.
right.
They were usually right. And nowadays I'm like, where did these people go? where
I also feel like back then, there was less content available, so there was more of an onus on those people to
mm,
put out something that is going to bring people back again, because there's more commitment to a magazine, right? You're buying something physical, they had to ship it out, there's all this money involved in just getting it to people.
true.
So like you had to put in the extra effort to get people to spend money on that physical magazine
Mm,
and get them coming back every month or week or whatever to do that. So you had to put out better content that more people are going to find useful.
and I mean, of course, back then, like, people didn't see a review of the game on a McSee. They just saw stills.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just see, yeah, at best still screenshots.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next question I sort of answered it, but I want to hear your thoughts. If not gaming journalist websites, where should people look to for reliable reviews or first impressions in video
Yeah,
games?
100% independent content creators,
Mm,
you know, like YouTubers. I mean, to some extent Twitch streamers, but with Twitch, you're not really getting a review on like a day one release of a game. You're just watching somebody's first experience with the
yep.
beginning of the game, which there is something to be said for that. Like, my buddy Sevens recently played. I don't remember what the game was, but it was like a very like story based. You're making choices and you're trying to get from point A to point B. Like you start, yeah, at some point in this like failing country and you're trying to get to the border basically. It's kind of like a Telltale game in that like you're making all of these choices and that affects how the story goes.
Damn, that sounds really
And
familiar.
yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but it just came out like a couple weeks ago, and just from him playing that on his stream, like there were all these people that are like, yeah, I'm gonna buy this game now. So I mean,
Mm,
that is one way to get like kind of an unfiltered, not just the opinion of the person playing it, but also you watching it and seeing, well, this seems like something that I might like. But you are, to a degree, spoiling the game for yourself because you're watching somebody else play it first.
Yeah.
Which is why the structured reviews are kind of better, because they're going to be avoiding major spoilers.
Yep. Or
and they're
if
just
they
gonna
do,
be talking about
if they
their
do, they'll tell you
experience.
prior spoilers ahead. Skip this
Right.
timestamp if you want to skip it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's two sides to that coin. It kind of depends on if you want to see what the gameplay looks like day one. Then watching people stream it on Twitch is definitely one way to do it.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for just somebody's overall opinion on the game, the bigger independent creators on YouTube get the games beforehand, so they have time to play it and create a review, make their video, edit everything.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get a more structured idea from that versus just watching somebody play it for the first time.
True. Okay. Well, I'm gonna add something to that. So as you said, independent content creators, or again, like, this is not sponsored by GameRanks whatsoever, but it doesn't have to be GameRanks, but any metric that's similar to the before you buy metric, that's a more reliable thing. Another one I've seen, like, buy it on release, on sale, or ignore. That's another fairly good metric. A lot of content creators have been using those metrics. Any metric that doesn't use a score is somewhat reliable, because you can count on them to give a reason why.
True.
Like, because again, a score is very subjective. It's very subjective. Like, you can get a burger from a burger joint and you're like, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. You give it to your closest friend that you trust. Nah, it's a 5 for me. Very subjective. But when you use a different metric other than a score, when you share your opinion on several elements, that is when you can start picking out stuff you agree and disagree with. Because with a score, you just disagree and then that's it. You agree, that's it. Disagree, that's it.
Right.
But when they tell you, you gotta know this before you buy, or this is why you want to buy it on sale. So it's like, wait, on sale? So it's good enough to buy, but only on sale. And now you know why. Or completely ignore it. Like, huh? Why? Like, that bad? Really?
Yeah, I mean, those metrics definitely are a good starting point. Obviously, they're kind of black and white in a way, where it's just like, if you say ignore it, it's like, well, maybe not for everybody. Like, maybe some people would enjoy this, like, you kind of have to know what the audience of the game is supposed to be.
Yeah. And another advice from me, kind of a gamer flex, but if you have been playing video games for years now, trust your instincts. If you have a gut feel that this game is going to be good, and if you don't mind, depending on the price tag, if you don't mind taking the plunge, take the plunge. Gamble that a game might be really good, but don't go in completely blind, of course. If there's an advice I would give players of gamers, I learned this, like, it's something I do, but I realized that I have been doing just by watching Josh Strife Hayes when he reviewed MMOs, or like he was talking about expectations. Do not set unrealistic or high expectations, no matter how plausible they do. Now here's the thing. I don't know how I managed it. I had really high expectations with Cyberpunk, but
I did too.
Even with the flaws, I could still recommend it to friends, but I'd still give a caveat. Because I played it from...
It's not what I want it to be, but I can't be mad at the devs for that.
Yeah. Because, like, I played it from start to finish on PC, so I did not experience the fallout that
I didn't finish it.
I did not experience the fallout that a lot of console players experienced. My sincerest sympathies to the console players who had to deal with Cyberpunk on release. You have my sympathies.
Honestly.
But
even now.
Yes, even now. But I played that game from start to finish on launch PC, and I enjoyed it. I cannot deny that I enjoyed it. But even then, if I were to use a score metric, I hate using score metrics, but because it's the most common one that people ask for, if people were to ask me, I'd give it like a 7. or 8 if I was being nice.
Mhm.
And the reason why
because
it's
I haven't completed the game, I can't give
Yeah.
like a full opinion on it.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. The reason why I give it a 7. Let's start with the good parts first. Music, you know me already. Music, good.
Mhm.
Combat, really good. Story, could use some work, but it's really well written. Performance of the voice actors, really good. In particular, Female V. Female V was really, really good. Side quests, I'm like, yep, these side quests were definitely made by CD Projekt Red, because some of these side quests are like,
Yep.
whoa, this is a gnarly side quest. The reason though why it took a big -3, because very obvious, like this game needed more time in the oven. The reason why it's a
Yes.
-3 for me is because it shows so badly that it needed time in the oven. It, even on PC, the bearable bugs were very obvious. And for those who want an idea, if you want the most obvious area, see, I'm not even talking about a mission or a segment, I'm talking about an area in the game. Like I personally tease it as the area of the game that really does say that this game needed time in the oven. Go to the garbage area of the game. This is where, which part of the game have you played until? Did you do the heist?
I want to say. Oh yeah, I got past that.
Okay, there.
Yeah.
When at the end of the heist, you end up in the garbage area, right?
Right.
Go back to that area. Try to traverse it on foot, and you will understand why this game needed time in the oven.
Okay.
That
I don't think I
is-
ever went back there.
Yeah,
Actually,
trust
I did
me.
a lot of side questing.
Like, if I wanted to tell someone in a nutshell without having to show a laundry list of bugs, you want the simplest TLDR, go to the garbage area of Cyberpunk 2077. That's the most obvious, like, yup, this game definitely needed time in the oven. 110%. But yeah, see, like, a 7 out of 10, if someone were to tell you 7 out of 10, it still sounds kind of vague, right? But if someone were to tell you Cyberpunk 2077, you'd tell them, I'm kind of in between buy it on sale and ignore it. You can ignore it, but you wouldn't waste your money if you bought it on sale. Like,
Right.
that's a
I
pretty
agree
good
with that.
metric to, like, okay, that's something I'll consider. Or if Game Ranks did, well, they did, but if Game Ranks released a before you buy Cyberpunk, they tell you right away, like, yep, there are issues, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, that's something to consider before I buy this. That is something I want to see. Well, I honestly doubt it will be a trend. Oh, no, a standard, but it is a trend right now. But I doubt that it will become the metric standard for reviewing video games. I highly doubt it. But
Yeah.
right now, it's the most reliable one that gamers trust more than the traditional way. And as I mentioned, trust your instincts. If you just trust your instincts. Trust that you know what a bad game and a good game is. And of course, set your expectations to realistic levels. You don't want to be disappointed because you thought a game was good. You'd rather be disappointed because you thought a game was bad, but it's actually good. Like, damn, I was proven wrong. If you want to be if you don't want to be proven wrong, you shouldn't want to be proven wrong because a game is actually worse than what you thought it would be. You wouldn't mind if you were proven wrong because a game is better than what you thought it would be.
Yeah. What I was kind of hoping, and Cyberpunk kind of fulfills this role. What I was kind of hoping with it is that it would be story-wise and like choices-wise a lot more like Witcher 3. But unfortunately, like there's not really any major choices that you can make that really impact anything, at least by like the midpoint of the game, which is kind of annoying.
It only reflected on the first mission when you get the something head.
I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
Hammerhead. Was it the hammerhead? I think.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, the flathead. There you go, the flathead. Getting the flathead.
Yeah.
It really did reflect like the choices and the branching, whatever. Like it didn't reflect in that regard for the rest of the game. I'm like, damn, what a wasted opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
I feel like they could have done so much more with that.
Yeah. All right. Next question. So, moving forward, the video game industry still seems to pursue evolution rather than innovation when it comes to video games. So when we're talking about, hello Marika, when we're talking about evolution, we're talking about um generally games improving in aspects that have already been there. So games getting better graphics, controllers and haptic feedback and feedback on the triggers and whatnot, better music, better voice acting,
Right.
better standards, but very
Voice acting's a big one.
yeah, voice acting in
The
Resident
sigh.
Evil 1. Well, take a look at this. Oh god. It was bitten by a huge monster. Ouch. I'm like, this was voice acting? Ouch. Oh my god. But yeah, so those are aspects that evolve, but rarely do games innovate nowadays. So, in your opinion, would you want games to start innovating again, or is it okay that games just keep evolving?
I mean, that's kind of the thing with like when you mention like you use the term evolution is like in actual evolution there can be, what's the word I'm trying to think of for this? There can be unexpected mutations. So like you're going in a path, right, with a certain evolution. But yeah, we'll get to that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But but there can be like little things that change, which are going to drastically affect things moving forward. You know, I'm trying to think of like a good example of that, but it's a lot of small changes that end up impacting things in a way that you wouldn't expect later down the line, and that does happen. So I mean, when you say innovation, like, are you talking kind of like the jump between 2D and 3D? Like, are you looking for something like really big like that?
No, I'm here's the most simple innovation I can think of recent. I'm just looking at my Nintendo Switch.
Okay, so you're talking about like the form factor of the console in this case, where it's a handheld and a like standard TV console.
Yeah, but what I mean by
same time.
innovation, I'm not just talking about video games or consoles. I'm talking about the gaming industry and landscape in general.
I mean, there are changes that need.
Yeah,
to be
there are
made, for
changes.
sure.
Yeah,
Just,
but like,
just like from an employment standpoint, some of the things that they do to these game devs with crunch and the way that they just treat them in general is really bad, and that needs to change.
oh, by the
That
way,
100%
Vault,
needs to change.
I'm sorry to cut you short right there.
That was the end of my thought.
Oh, okay. But here's the thing. My Tekken buddy Marika is now simping for you, by the way.
Oh,
If
I
you
see
look
that.
at my chat.
Hello.
Wait, hold up. Vault's got a nice
thank you.
voice. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been keeping an eye
Marika,
on
he
your
plays
chat.
Guilty Gear as well. Also, you two can, yeah, you know.
I mean, I'm not good at it, but I play it.
She's learning the game as well, so. Yeah, there you go.
I'm doing pretty good though. How are you doing?
But hey, Vault, come on, don't downplay yourself like that. You've improved drastically since the first day I fought you, dude.
I mean, I would hope that that's the
Hey,
case.
no, don't say that. No, you are. Don't hope you are. No, you are. You have improved. Your voice is nice too, Inari, no worries. You But you missed my gamer rant a while ago, Marika. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Anyway.
It went on for quite a while.
Yeah, it did. So anyway, when it comes to evolution and innovation, if there's one thing I want to see right now, I want to see more innovation, because I just look at the PS5 graphics of the games that they have showed us. I mean, of course, these are just teasers, so we don't know what they'll look like on actual gameplay, but
not just that, but it's the beginning of the generation.
Yeah,
like, by the
yeah,
end, it's going to be a whole other level.
Yeah, but I mean, just even the titles that have come already. Like, you look at the director's cut for Death Stranding that's coming out. The graphics look really good. Ratchet and Clank. The graphics in the game, in particular, even though it's cartoonish question mark, it looks really good. And
Yeah,
the next gen
graphics
updates of the game, and I mean, even FF7 remake on the PS4 sans the door that was memed to oblivion, it looked really damn good.
I've heard though that the PS5 update for that is like whole new level though.
Yeah,
where,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
They fixed a lot of the graphical issues. They've upped the texture resolution, the pop-in problems, you know, all of that stuff is a lot better on the PS5 version.
I'm slightly disappointed though that Tifa's abs still lack a bit of detail. It's there, but I wanted more detail. But anyway, that thing aside. Yeah. Like, I'm just looking at the graphics of games like right now, and I'm like, this has to be the peak of it, right? I think we're nearing the peak of how good a video game can actually look.
I don't think so, honestly. Because so here's the thing with these GPU chip manufacturers. They will keep they'll keep the strength of their chips down for X amount of years, so that when they release their next chip, it's a big enough jump. So I mean, the thing is, I like the jump between because a lot of people with Nvidia, they had 10 series graphics cards. The jump between 10 series and 30 series is insane. It's like almost double the performance, and that was like less than 5 years or something between the two of them. I don't remember exactly what the time frame was, but it's like an insane jump in performance, and they are power hogs, but I think over time we're going to be optimizing what we already have to use less energy, and then what they're going to do is just scale it up from there so that it's more powerful using the same amount of energy. So I mean, even though you can only shrink the die sizes so much, they can always make a GPU bigger, because then it's like, just get a new case, loser. So I feel like what they're going to do is they're just going to keep scaling it up X amount of years so that they can keep making money. Obviously, they're not just going to dump it on you as soon as
But
they
me, in my opinion, I just want GPUs that can fit in my shoebox rig.
that's fair.
My precious tiny little shoebox rig here, chill. Is
Well,
just...
and those are always going to exist, right?
Yeah.
Because like even with Nvidia's 30 series, you've got like the 3070, and I think 3060 Ti is a thing.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, so like they have the smaller form factor ones. Also, custom boards made by certain manufacturers are going to be smaller as well.
Yeah, I mean,
so I mean, there's always going to be options for those, but I'm talking like top of the line graphics, which over time is going to shrink and trickle down to the consoles, you know. So the thing that really sets the standard for how strong a game can be, a mainstream AAA game, is going to be the consoles, because it has to be able to run on those. So whatever the current gen of consoles are is going to set the standard for how good a game can look. And so each generation, as the consoles get stronger and the PCs get stronger, it's just going to keep getting better to the point of photorealism. And especially with newer software like Nvidia and AMD are working on, with DLSS and ray tracing, all of that is going to just facilitate that even faster. So I mean, I think we are going to get to the point of true photorealism within X amount of decades, you know, probably within our lifetime. Because you can already like in Blender or whatever, you can render out a frame of something that looks photorealistic within, you know, a minute or two with a good GPU. So like if you have that technology scaled up even more, it's going to get to the point eventually where you can do 30 FPS photoreal, 60 FPS photoreal. Like we're going to get there eventually, as long as society doesn't collapse.
Well, that's something to look forward to. Well, I see that as a case, but if there's one thing I want, it doesn't have to be the ones building consoles, but it could be the ones developing games at least. Like, I get that you want your game to look really good, but as I mentioned, innovation is just something that is... I get that not many people are looking for it, but when innovation is done really well, it gets a lot of traction, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like,
I mean,
just,
we're,
the most basic innovations, I'll just list a few. I mean, right now it doesn't look like innovations, but if you wound back time a couple of years, it was innovative for its time. I mean, you look at Look at Guitar Hero.
Oh, true.
That thing
well,
was
that
innovative as hell because I'm like,
it was because it changed the form factor of the controls that you're using to be more immersive or realistic.
yeah,
even
immersive
if it is
controls.
just hitting buttons.
Yeah, I mean, immersive controls. That was the innovation of the time. And then
They kind of took it a little too far with some of them, though. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
stupid stuff like the Wiimote golf club.
Yeah, that was
That's the
hilarious.
dumbest stuff ever.
And then, of course, funny you mentioned the Wii. When they innovated with the controller, motion controls, although it's a hit or miss, the reason why they innovated with the controller was because at the time, Satoru Iwata's philosophy when it comes to video games, and it is a philosophy I live by. Video games should be fun. A video game should be one thing: fun. Fun
Right.
for everyone. And
Yeah, fun, even addictive. You know,
yeah,
anything
yeah.
like
Fun
that.
can be
It's gonna
translated
come
to
before
anything.
graphics.
Fun can be translated to anything, but as long as a game it's fun, then it's a good game. That's how he sees it. But the thing is, he didn't want to appeal to just gamers like PS2 and Xbox had focused on. There's nothing wrong with that. But as a family console, he really wanted it to be a family console. He didn't want just the kids and the parents doing it. He also wanted the grandparents to get in on the fun. So again,
Yeah, you can see that in
genius,
the marketing.
very genius and simple innovation. What is one gadget that everyone uses back in the day? A remote controller. So, just to flip through the channels of a TV. So, can we make a controller out of a remote control? I mean, it's in the name, so yeah, why not? So that's why the Wiimote looks like a TV remote control, because that's exactly the idea.
Yeah.
And that's one innovation. Another innovation recently, again, is the Nintendo Switch hybrid console. Not to say that the Wii U wasn't a hybrid, but again, this is a joke I like to throw out in a while. The Wii U literally limped so that the Switch could run.
True.
I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw the trailer of the Nintendo Switch, I'm like, this is a hybrid console, but I don't know why that is such a good idea. It's such a simple idea, but it's such a good idea. When I saw the trailer and they're like, oh, that's cute. They're playing Splatoon at home, and then suddenly, oh wait, what? They're playing on the go now. Wait, what? Like, just the idea of like, oh, I gotta go somewhere. I'll just put this in my bag, play it on the way. Then when I get back, I'll just put it on this dock, turn on the TV, it's there. I'm like, that's so simple, but oh my goodness.
And I mean, I think the main reason that didn't happen before then was just because the technology to have a decent handheld console like that wasn't really there until Nvidia made their mobile chip. That they made for
it's
that.
understandable.
And I'm kind of really disappointed that they didn't announce some kind of like upgraded Switch Pro.
Yeah,
it's just a Switch with an OLED. Like I really think that it would benefit greatly from a lot of the new technology that has come out in the time that the Switch has been around. Because if they made an updated Switch, kind of like Steam has done actually, if they made like an updated Switch with new technology, it could actually be a decently powerful handheld system.
Yeah, and like again, I'm not a Nintendo loyalist, but I mean, in their defense, yet they haven't released a significant upgrade like a Switch Pro yet. So who knows?
I don't think they are going to. I think we're kind of so my understanding, just from some like content that I've watched, that kind of goes in depth about like Nintendo's life cycles and the way that they're marketing this new Switch, is basically they ordered, like, I forget however many millions of units that they ordered of it. And basically they are discontinuing it after that. Like the chip that is used to make the Switch is being discontinued.
Wow.
So they're not going to be able to make more of them after this. So the next thing that comes out is going to have to be like a whole new piece of hardware.
Interesting. Well, we'll really have to wait and see. I mean, ever since Satoru Iwata passed away, I have been very worried for Nintendo, because Nintendo under Satoru Iwata's watch has been something very special in my opinion. I mean,
Right.
His speech, his first speech as CEO, really touched me because I'm like, this man is not a president, he's a gamer. Because that's exactly what his message was.
We need a gamer in office.
I don't know what convention it was, but I remember, see, like, just thinking about him kind of gives me goosebumps. But I'm gonna power through it because it's very important. It's something that I look for in any developer or publisher for games out there. He said in his business card, he is a corporate president. In his head, he is a game developer. But in his heart, he is a gamer. And I'm just like, you see, that's the layers of, and it speaks to me as a philosophy major as well. That's the layers of what makes Satoru Iwata what he is as a person, and it translates into his actions and decision making. He cannot, if we were going to talk literal layers of existence, his mind cannot exist without the body cannot exist without the heart, and that business card sure as hell cannot exist without a living body that represents Satoru Iwata. So the corporate president Satoru Iwata, the gaming developer Satoru Iwata would not exist without the gamer Satoru Iwata.
Yeah, definitely.
And
definitely.
every decision he has made, was a gamer's decision.
Right.
Like, the Nintendo Switch was the last major console he was like involved in. He was, I think, in the latter stages before it was officially revealed. Oh, no, not later stages, but early conceptual stages, I think. Okay. He was already trading. In terms of games, though, do you know what was his last major contribution to gamers in terms of game? Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go, really?
He was in talks with the person.
I'm on the fence about that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But the concept of it, at least. He was in talks with the
person. What I don't like...
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I don't like is not the game itself, but the trend that it has started within Nintendo. Because now, instead of getting true Pokemon spin-offs, except for Pokemon Snap, that was like the only thing recently, but we're not getting like any mystery dungeons or anything like that. It's all just mobile game spin-offs now. And I really hate that.
Well, I mean, we can't really say for sure, but if Satoru Iwata were still alive today, we don't know if that would be, what it is now. But I honestly,
no way to know.
I honestly think if he were alive today, funny you say that. I think you'd like what Satoru Iwata's take on mobile games would be. You know what he said about Nintendo games on the mobile?
I don't know.
He said it's not ready.
It's not ready.
He said Nintendo is not ready to be on the mobile game market. Now you can take that as with whatever understanding you might want, but I honestly think when he meant by Nintendo is not ready, he meant Nintendo's identity is not ready in the mobile game market. Because at the time, mobile games did not coincide with what he envisioned Nintendo games to be. Because
definitely
games on the mobile are not experiences. They're like
they're time passers.
They're time passers. Like, if I were to compare it to food, they're like snacks. There's something that you consume every once in a while to enjoy, and then I'm not gonna eat this again. I'm not gonna consume it every day, but But he understands that a video game is still a video game. It's a form of entertainment that you want to experience, and there has to be something profound or sublime about it. And and I'm pretty sure, like, no, we're not ready for that. We're not ready. So we cannot be completely sure because God bless his soul. He's making games in another realm that we cannot reach. So now, I mean, who knows? Maybe also the current treatment of Nintendo with the Smash community, which has been very Nintendo of them. I honestly I don't. We cannot say for sure either. But and it sucks. Here we are. But yeah, when it comes to innovating for video games, I mean, there's just something special about seeing something new in a system of video games other than better graphics, better music, better controls, better cutscenes,
Yeah.
etc.
I mean, to some degree, that's just kind of the basis that everything is made around, though. So, like, if you have those elements and they just keep getting better, then it's really up to you as like the developer or the story writer to do something new with the tools that are available. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, you can create something brand new like Nintendo, but they put millions of dollars into R&D when they create a console.
Okay.
So, unless you have those kinds of resources, which only very few companies do, there's only so much innovation that you can do that isn't on the software side. The software side is, just it comes down to your skill, really. At that point, your skill and your experience if you're trying to create a new piece of software that the gamer can interact with in a different way than they have before.
I mean, a lot of games that have almost set a new genre in itself came from innovation. Not, in my opinion, it wasn't really evolution. Because
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of the
you can make an argument that these systems would have existed earlier if they had the idea of implementing them in the first place.
to some degree,
To
yes.
some degree,
I
at
mean,
least, yeah.
like Nintendo has they had, well, they weren't the only company to do this, but they had their precursors to a lot of the technology that we see today, like Virtual Boy being one of the first virtual reality headsets.
Yeah.
But that the technology just was not there at the time for their
Definitely
idea
not.
at all. So that's like one thing where it's like they had the idea, and virtual reality headsets existed in arcades and things like that for a long time, but the implementation, the technology wasn't there yet until very recently, to where you can strap on, a 4K set of goggles to your head and connect it to your PC, and then have this extremely immersive experience that you could have with no other piece of hardware.
Yeah.
Like that expensive. It's starting to get cheaper, but I think it's going to be a little while before VR is one of those things that, like, oh yeah, this is my VR headset, just like, oh, this is my Switch, like, like you just have that laying around kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. Penultimate question. AAA titles aren't exactly as big as they were before, and a quotation mark big. More indie titles have big.
Big.
Be careful slinging that word around, especially when Skull is in chat.
He's not.
Yeah, okay. More indie titles have shown up recently and delivered very well received experiences. Why do you think it has come to this?
I mean, okay, so this kind of comes down to return on investment, in my opinion. So when you're making a AAA game the traditional way, you're pouring millions and millions of dollars into it, and the process of that keeps getting more expensive as games get bigger and more complicated, and there's all these expectations on AAA games now. Whereas when you're an indie developer, there's far less likely to be a time constraint like there is with AAA games, where, like Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty, they're like, make this in a year, and you're like, oh, okay. But with an indie title, maybe it's just you, or you've got a smaller team, and you don't necessarily have that time constraint. You can say, all right, this might take us 3 to 5 years to make, but we can spend the time to get the mechanics, get the systems the way that we want them to be, for people to experience it in the way that we're intending them to. So it's a smaller experience, but it's more finely crafted. There's more of a quality to it, because it's a smaller experience and you don't have to focus on so many different things. Oh, we need to add a multiplayer element to this because people only play multiplayer games these days, and like, oh well, we need to have, all of these different systems and mini games and microtransactions and all of these other day one patches and things like that. You don't need to worry about all of these different things when you're making a smaller title. And so I think people gravitate more towards that because it can feel like a more polished experience. For example, going back to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, is that the new one, Valhalla?
Yeah,
I think
it is.
That game, when it came out, got lambasted because it was so undercooked, so many bugs. There was clearly like so many things that they didn't have time to do because they're on this yearly release schedule with Assassin's Creed. And so so something like that there's all these expectations and you're not going to be able to meet them within the time constraints. But something smaller that you can take as much time and love and you're passionate about it because it's your pet project. There's going to be more of a quality there that people are going to gravitate towards, in my opinion.
It's true. Well, for me, when it comes to indie titles, being more well received than AAA titles, I would say it's also because of perspective and priority.
Expectation, yeah.
Well, not just expectations. Like, I mean, on the ground level, you can say the expectations are quite similar. So a big company like Square Enix wants their game to sell well. An indie company would also want to have the same expectation. They want their title to sell well. The scale is just different when it comes to expectations.
The scale is very different. Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, if you're spending 50 times less to make your game and you sell the same amount of copies, that's way more profit depending on the price that you sold the game at.
But in my opinion,
so,
this is where
it's kind of like,
yeah, go ahead.
It makes me think of the horror movie industry, actually, where if you can pump out a horror movie for really cheap and it gets really big, something like Insidious or whatever, you're making so much more money on that, and it took way less time, way less money, way less effort. So I feel like that's kind of a similar idea with indie games, where it's like, if you're pumping less money into it but you're selling it for the same price, then you're just making more profit on that in general, which is going to let you grow as a company. That is a lot of hydrates.
Yeah, it is. I will hydrate. But in my opinion, this is where perspective and priority comes into play. In my opinion, again, I just about everything I'm saying is an opinion, but I just want to remind my precious Foxtrots and Vaults viewers that this is my opinion. Most indie developers, they prioritize player satisfaction when it comes to developing the games. Most AAA companies prioritize shareholder satisfaction. And to be honest, you cannot blame them for it either.
Yeah,
the bigger your company,
left and right to release that.
The bigger the company, the bigger the money involved. And what I mean by involved, I literally mean involved. You're earning more because you're spending more, because you're investing more. It's literally that. So what's more and more with all of that, expectations are also higher, which means that the standard pitted against you are also higher. But here's the thing. There's one thing though that does not change when it comes to indie developer versus AAA. In my opinion, like in my honest opinion, it's a unique trait to the gaming industry. The consumer doesn't change. Because if anything, the consumer, a video game as a consumer is very versatile. Because it's in our trait to be versatile. What I mean by trait, the most basic fundamentals of a gamer is that we don't usually stick to one genre. Gamers in general, we have played fighting games, FPS, puzzle games, strategy games, action adventure games, open world games, racing games. The list goes on.
I would say that there are still markets and demographics though, because I mean, like me personally, I'm not big on FPS games. So like and fighting games really until recently I never really got into them. So it's it's one of those things where, I mean, to a degree you're right, where there's a lot of crossover for sure. It's a big Venn diagram. But there are still demographics to cater to, and especially in the wider gaming industry of mobile games, where the market is basically everybody.
Because realistically speaking, no matter how good you are a developer, you cannot please every gamer out there. Do not aim to please every gamer out there.
You can't do that with anything.
No, absolutely not. Your goal, in my opinion, is to find out who you want, who is going to play this game, and make sure they enjoy it.
Yes, for sure.
But here's where perspective then comes into play. How do developers from a AAA title see people who buy their game versus indie developers who sell their game to people who play video games.
Right.
It's,
there's definitely a different perspective.
There is
from
a
that
different
angle, yeah.
there is a different perspective, and I hate simplifying something as complex as this, but the simplest way to describe it is basically how these companies identify their identify their market.
Okay.
Now, again, let me reiterate, this is my opinion. There's only one company I know where they explicitly said this, so. But AAA developers, I think, see their market as consumers and customers. Whereas AAA developers look at their market as gamers.
I think you might have said something twice there. I think you meant indie developers.
Sorry, indie developers.
I think you said AAA twice.
Sorry, AAA. I'll just reiterate. So AAA companies see their market as consumers or customers, whereas indie developers see their market as gamers.
Now, and I agree, but I think that there's different levels to that.
There are
because
definitely different levels. That's
the, well, more specifically within the companies themselves, I think that a lot of the actual developers, the people who are making models and coding mechanics and things like that, I think that they have that view of it.
Yeah.
But more so, the people who are running the business side of it have a lot of these constraints and expectations that kind of make it more difficult for the developers themselves.
Exactly. I mean, that's why whenever a game is developed but published by a different company, that's when doubt and skepticism starts to kick in. Like whenever, like, oh wow, I know this. Wow, cool. This game is developed by this, blah blah. Then you see the publisher, like, oh no.
Oh, Blizzard.
And yeah, funny you say Blizzard, because I did mention earlier there's only one company I know where they actually called their players customers or consumers. That is indeed Activision Blizzard. They didn't call them players or gamers. Nope, they called them consumers and customers. I'm just like,
yeah, which I mean, to some degree, I guess is true, but
it is
yeah, it
true. But this is why I mentioned that perspective is very important. Because when you see your market in a certain way, you are going to deliver them your product and service in a certain way as well. When you think that your market is going to keep buying from you, you're going to have this mindset of, I need to rush product every year so that they keep spending. But if in your perception that these are gamers and you understand that a gamer will buy a game without the intention of being loyal to the brand completely, like they'll buy another game from another company 110%. When you have that perspective, you now have this idea that, okay, knowing this, I have to make sure that the game is up to their standard, that when they buy it, they are satisfied, because I don't know if they'll buy another title from us. And I mean, to be frank, the easiest example I can do this is Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Call of Duty.
And yearly
release. And honestly, like, I understand why Activision Blizzard is doing this. I mean, Modern Warfare alone has earned them $2.something billion just because of game sales, microtransactions, etc. Like,
yeah,
very obvious. But there are other companies that I trusted. I hate saying that, but I trusted. But I see this trend and I'm like, oh no. And my most hated example, other than Ubisoft, is Rockstar.
Rockstar, really?
Yeah. As much as I love Red Dead 2, you look at the previous titles before the current ones. Red Dead 1 and GTA 4. those things had single player DLC. And Red Dead 1, although it had online to some extent, it did have a spin-off expansion, Undead Nightmare.
Yep.
And
Yep.
their releases were still quite short in gap, 1 or 2 years. They had several titles next to each other, but they were single player experiences. You look at how long it has been since we've had a new IP from Rockstar, ever since Red Dead 2 and GTA 5 has come out. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
For sure.
And I'm
GTA
just
5
like,
was 2013.
people are wondering, why is that? You look at the word they've attached to these two games, it will tell you everything you need to know. Online. Look, there is nothing wrong with implementing a multiplayer system in a single player experience if it can be done right. Like, honestly, this is a very confusing metaphor, but honestly, in certain very specific contexts, I think it's applicable. A good idea executed wrong is worse than a bad idea executed right.
Yes, sometimes so there's sort of a spectrum to this though, because having constraints when you're making something can, in some cases, end up making something really good. Like if you start out with a bad idea, like say you're a video game developer and your company is like, okay, this is our idea for this game, we're going through with it, you have to make this or you don't have a job or whatever. Then if a really creative developer can take a bad idea and make something good out of it.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, bad idea. Like, again, it's not something you apply on a broad spectrum, but in certain circumstances, like on paper, this doesn't sound good. But when you execute it right, it can actually be pretty well done. I mean, again, because it's contextual, I'll give an example where it does apply. Final Fantasy VII Remake. You take a classic that people do not want anyone to screw up because it's a cult classic. You know?
Looking at KOTOR, sweating.
Yeah, I'm with you on I'm with you there, buddy. I mean, we did talk about this in your previous stream. KOTOR was my first BioWare game, and it's a very important title for me. And thank you for dropping by, Sonic TK. Here's the thing: you take a tried and true game like FF7, you are going to turn it into a very action-based JRPG with some ATB elements. That is a disaster waiting to happen because FF15 is a thing.
Right.
Like, again, I'm not shitting on those who enjoyed FF15. I enjoyed FF15, alright? But even I cannot deny that there are flaws in the gameplay and in some segments of that game. And that was also a time where I also hated Square Enix because, one, FF15 wasn't FF14, and Yoshi P was his own entity in my opinion, so technically he isn't Square Enix. God bless that man, but now he has a significant position on Square Enix, so please, Yoshi P, steer that company in the right direction. Right. That aside, like, the way they treated DLCs in that game was atrocious. You have these side stories, and I'm like, why weren't these part of the game? Because they seem important. And I'm like, but they're just to flesh out your party members' backstories. I'm like, the whole point of FF15 is a journey. That's the theme. The theme of FF15 is a road. Why do you think the opening segment? Inarioko rant incoming. Look, incoming.
Take
look,
cover.
The opening segment of that game is a literal road trip. Your party members are not party members. They feel like buddies, you know, like bro culture. They feel like you're bros. We have that vibe from the start.
Yes.
So you'd think that they would flesh out the characters of these bros that you're with, but it's not like they don't do it, but you'd think that the content relevant to that would exist on the base game, but they're like, nah, they're gonna exist in episodes called DLCs. And I'm like, Why would you do that? It's so important. Like,
Especially with something like a video game where it's really long form content and you have the time to flesh out all of your side characters.
the worst
I
part
feel like
is
that's
that
very important.
the worst part is that it's sold at a AAA price, $60.
Yeah, plus
How-
then you're buying the DLC to get
Yeah,
the full
like,
context of the story.
It's like, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't hate all DLC. I hate, like, DLC is something I'm on the extreme. I absolutely hate or I absolutely love. There is very
Right.
rare times where I'm in the middle ground. Because, frankly, this is the experience of DLCs I've seen recently. They're either done really in the worst way, anti-consumer way possible, or the best thought out ways possible. And again, just to throw out the easiest example, look at the DLCs in Witcher 3. The ones that you'd
Yes.
think they would charge people for $1 each, they gave it for free. Bonus hairstyles, new outfits for Yennefer and
Interest.
Triss.
Was it? Yeah, was it Triss?
Yeah, horse armor, a couple of outfits, a couple of, cosmetics, blah, blah, blah. You'd think they'd charge you $1, $2 for it, and people wouldn't bat an eye. But the fact that they gave it for free, I'm just like, no, that's just goodwill. You can even call it PR, doesn't matter. We all benefited from it. They're just showing this is
Yeah.
how you freaking do DLC. So the ones that
The
were-
reputation that they got from all the stuff that they did with Witcher 3 gave me so much faith that Cyberpunk wasn't going to be a mess on launch, but unfortunately it was.
Yeah, but again, like, here's the thing. They did promise that they'd fix the game. We'll just have to
And
wait
they
and
also, they also, and I think this is still the case. They're
DLCs
giving out
are
the
free
expansions
so
for
far.
free.
Yeah.
So
We will see.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to them. For
Kudos
that.
to them. Like, again, in any context, anyone should be given a shot at redemption, no matter. Well, it's a case-to-case basis, but normally, people shouldn't be denied to correct their wrongs.
Right.
Same goes for Cyberpunk. I mean, if Hello Games can do it with No Man's Sky, which need I remind people?
I have heard.
Need I
Yeah.
remind people, especially the ones that watch the Internet Historian video, No Man's Sky was a dumpster fire on launch. And
It was.
I
was.
am a person who loves space travel. I enjoyed the space travel, but oh my god, was that game lifeless, buggy, and ugh. But now
I've heard that it's totally different.
it's totally different now, and everything has been there for free. And you compare, like, here's a VR update. Oh, great. I bet we have to buy it, just like Fallout 4 VR or Skyrim VR. Nope, it's a free update.
Don't even get me started on Bethesda right now. Oh
Okay,
my
don't worry.
God. Skyrim VR makes me mad.
Oh,
dude.
wait. I just want to go on a tangent real quick. What's your favorite Elder Scrolls title?
You know what? People might hate me for this. I've only ever played 5.
Oh. Okay, no, it's okay. No, I have a friend.
There's one reason for that. No,
Mhm.
there's one reason for that.
Go ahead.
Right? So when I was younger, my sister bought Oblivion,
Mm.
and we were gonna play it on our Xbox 360. It red ringed our Xbox.
Oh.
It killed our Xbox, and we had to get a replacement one, which thankfully it was still under warranty.
Sad.
But after that, I was like, okay, no more Oblivion.
That's okay. I have a friend also who is an Elder Scrolls nerd, but she has never played. She hasn't played Oblivion as much as I have. And let me just tell you this: if there's a lot of things you miss out, and well, we could talk about this some other day or later. But yeah, that aside, like I mentioned, I'm really on the extreme end when it comes to DLCs because it's just really frustrating when I see BS like this, and that's exactly what FF15 did. I'm just like, who thought
Yeah.
that this would be a good idea? Like, if the character development wasn't that important, like, I don't know, hypothetical. If in FF10 they provided DLC, like, here's a backstory for Lulu, Kemari, Waka, I could probably
That
give
would
it
be
a pass.
atrocious.
No, I wouldn't say atrocious, because here's the
No.
thing. No,
I wouldn't like that.
I wouldn't like it either. But I'm just comparing it to scale, and as objectively as I can. But subjectively, Vault, I share that sentiment, okay? I cherish FF10. Any DLC in that manner is a scummy decision in my opinion. But just for the sake of a hypothetical, alright? Just for the sake of hypothetical. FF10 is all about Yuna. I mean, there can be an argument to be made that FF10-2 is like an expansion, so to speak. Kinda.
I would say it's
But
kind of its own game.
But it's more of a sequel, really. It's more of a sequel.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
to
it's
be
got
fair,
2 at the end of it.
yeah, it got
so.
to the end of it. And to be fair, the gameplay is different because it's an ATB system again.
Totally different.
Totally
yeah.
different, yeah. And you're changing classes. Like that wasn't a thing in FF10. But
Yeah.
like, if the Guardians of FF10 were given more significance than were initially made to believe, maybe it would make sense to give, not maybe individually, but like a DLC that sort of explored the backstories of the Guardians of Yuna. That might have been something acceptable. But
Okay,
again,
yeah.
that's because FF10 is really all about Sin, Spira, Yuna, and Tidus. That's
Right.
really the focus. So any DLC that focuses on them is wrong. Because I'm
I
like,
definitely agree with
that
that.
that should be in the base game. Like
Definitely.
like for this talk, I made like a list of, if I were a scummy company, if I was Square Enix a couple of years back instead of Squaresoft, how could I ruin FF10 with DLC? What segments could I turn into a DLC? I know what I could do. You know the secret Aeons like Anima, Maga Sisters, Yojimbo.
Oh, no.
Let me
No.
put that in a map that you have to input in the airship, but the code is unique to the DLC.
That would be
And you
awful.
and someone might say, well, they're extra, but here's the thing. Did you know that Anima is actually Seymour's mother? So I'm just like,
Oh, really?
I'm like,
Actually, I did know that.
oh, well, now you do.
It's been so long since I've played it.
Yeah. So like, see, that's story relevant. And I'm just like, Yojimbo is the most guardian of all the guardians because you literally pay him and you hope that
Right.
he's in the mood to one-hit KO the enemy.
You just just pay him more. That's all.
And again, like, you'd think like, oh, it's just lore dump then. No. If you summon not Yojimbo, if you summon Anima against Seymour actually has unique dialogues. Like, you two stand against me. I'm like, wow, that's some attention to detail that I never thought they'd, explore,
Yeah,
but I'm
I
glad
love
that they
that in
did.
games.
See, that's one. I'm just talking about the Aeons. What if, like, imagine if there are several story segments that you just, like, think of it this way. Remember the part where you get imprisoned in Bevel? And the part,
Vaguely.
yeah, and people are split into two groups. You have the group of the swimmers, which is Tidus, Waka, and Riku. Then you have the rest that cannot swim. Hello, Miharu.
Hello.
こんばんは。私の生配信来てくれて本当にありがとうございます。Like I was saying, so let's take that segment for example. The main focus would obviously be Tidus and Yuna, but more on Yuna because she's basically hit by this realization that whatever she knew about Yevon and the organization has been shattered to pieces because Meister Micah is actually an unsent. And they know that sin is a cycle, and that is a cycle that they want to continue. Now, what if the Tidus segment of that where you're breaking out of the dungeon with Tidus, Waka, and Riku, what if that was DLC? Like to
That
find
would be really dumb.
how you want to find out how they broke out of the swimming area? Like they're supposed to drown to their death, but the guards were too dumb to wait. Two of these people are blitzball players, and one of them is an Albed that has goggles. I don't think it's a good enough. We're just dumping them here. Like,
I mean, that would be especially dumb because that's kind of just like such a small, like almost insignificant thing. Like if they actually like made DLC out of that, that would just
exactly my point. Because design-wise, a DLC should reflect an addition, not a completion. And sadly, that is what the FF15 DLCs reflected. They reflected completion rather than addition. Like that segment where Gladiolus goes off somewhere. Where the hell did he go? What the hell did he do? You want to find out? DLC. What? Really? In a game where in a Final Fantasy game where the design is literally, you know, character development with your bros, your party members are not party members, they're friends, they're people you've known at a young age and whatnot. Like, you bled together, you're in it to the end, like, paddle, no paddle, whatever. You'd think that it'd be part of the main game, but nope, it's DLC. So that is exactly my main point when it comes to, like, experiences that AAA titles and indie developers deliver. Their perspective is different. Like,
I do wonder with FF15 if that came down to time constraints, where they wanted to add that into the base game, but they weren't able to do it in that amount of time, so they decided to make it DLC. Honestly, I feel like if that's the case, you should make it free DLC.
Yeah, they could have just patched it in for free, because if it was intended to be part of the game, why are people paying for it? It's almost as if, because
I mean, that comes down to
even though the intention is not malicious, the translation of your intention is different, because it's just too convenient. Oh, delayed, that's why we had to sell it as DLC. So how we understand that statement is not that it was delayed, that's why we had to sell it late, but rather it was delayed so that we can sell it.
Right.
It's different. It's not that you sold it late because it was delayed. No, it was delayed so that you can sell it late. It's almost convenient. And again, like, you cannot blame both sides either. Like, no, our intent was this, but the consumers would see it in a reasonable way, by the way. It's not one of those conspiracy theories. No, it's one of those sound reasoning that, hey, it's a plausible reason. Like, they could have just given it to us, but it's so convenient that delayed, so yeah, let's release this. Like, what the heck? Alright, last question, finally, last question. So, the last question is essentially wrapping up this whole talk. So, in your honest opinion, in your own criteria, when it comes to designing a good video game, what makes a video game good?
So, I kind of had to think about this question a little bit when you sent me the outline. I think a lot of it comes down to, and this kind of is in the general idea of like gameplay coming first. The gameplay loop of a game is extremely important. The more fun and addictive the gameplay loop is, the more likely somebody is going to continue to play your game for a long time. So, like, for example, with Breath of the Wild, you've got this loop of you're exploring, and you either come across combat or a puzzle. And you solve both of those in numerous ways, depending on how the player sees fit. And then you explore some more, combat or puzzle, explore some more. And that's an engaging loop, because you're always discovering something new, and you're always finding a new way to overcome an obstacle, no matter what that obstacle happens to be in the loop. So there's a lot of games that do that very well, and some that get overly repetitive, and it's just boring.
Let me
a lot
add
of
a
open
little
world games fall into that.
Let me add a little piece of detail you might not have known.
Yes.
But do you know that the shrines and the enemies were conveniently placed based on the design of the terrain of Breath of the Wild?
You're saying like they made the terrain first and then placed
the way they
designed
the landscape, of the game, it's very big brain. The way they designed the landscape of Breath of the Wild is they wanted to make sure that almost everyone had a unique route. Even if, hypothetical, even if you and I were to jump off the same segment of Shrine of Resurrection and go for not even a beast, let's say Kakariko Village. You already know the optimal path. But because of how you tackle it, and because of how the terrain conveniently obscures what's ahead of you, your pathing is just different by default.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because there's also a human psychology element to it. It's very big brain. They had that in mind. Like, when they see a tiny hill hiding something obscure, they're like, there has to be something there, right? But for some people, they're like, oh, okay, it's just a hill and some trees. There's nothing there. I'm just gonna go for an open space. See, it's very, like, again, big brain, right?
Yeah, and that actually facilitates two different styles of gameplay as well, where you've got somebody who's just going from objective to objective versus somebody who's trying to find every Korok seed, or something like that, where they're actually checking every suspicious outcropping of rocks to see if they can throw an extra boulder in there and get a Korok seed.
And the best part is that regardless of what style you are, you're not punished for it. Now, you might think...
Oh, yeah.
You might, people might think, but the person who made a beeline for Kakariko Village will miss out on some shrines. True, but here's the thing. Because he made a beeline for Kakariko Village, he's also not wasting food, weapons on enemies that he encounters as he goes to other shrines. And other treasure chests.
That is one of the beautiful things. One of the beautiful things about speedrunning that game is you can cut out so much of it. Like, once you get off the plateau, obviously, because they kind of force you to do everything on the plateau. But once you get off the plateau, you can just boom, 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 and you're at Ganon. Like you're fighting Ganon with a pot lid.
Or creative use of environment, bombing a bokoblin or moblin into the water or off a high level just to kill them through science.
Yes,
it's really
one of my favorite glitches too is what Small Ant calls bouncing on that boy, where you land on a bokoblin's head in slow-mo and you just go flying across the map. I love that glitch so much.
All right. Well, for me, when it comes to making a good video game, yeah, this is a very complicated question because, in my opinion, this is a very subjective question. There's no tried and true way to make a good video game, and it's not even because of technology. It's not because of the developers or publishers. It's because of us gamers. What we see as a good video game changes. Can be every month, every year, every decade, practically maybe even every week. But in my opinion, what makes a video game good? The video game has to be made by a gamer, for a gamer, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Yeah, you have to understand.
It's the simplest way to describe it, but if I wanted to expand on what I just said, like, basically, if you know your market, if you're part of that market, you know what not to do and what to do. Like, the most obvious things we criticize on video games, like, for example, New Game Plus as DLC. No gamer, no self-respecting gamer would make that decision if they were to develop a game. Absolutely not. No freaking way.
Either just don't have it or put it in the base game.
Yeah,
just something like that.
Exactly.
Especially because I'm not a game developer myself, but something like New Game Plus on the surface seems like it would be very easy to implement. You tweak some things. You just tweak some things about the way the game works. You carry over some things from the other save.
Or here's the funny thing. This is a trend recently. It's a good trend. Games that normally don't launch with New Game Plus with enough, either because of not backlash, but because of feedback, or because they couldn't implement it prior to release, they add it in for free. An example would be God of War.
Respectable.
One would be God of War. Another is Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, they added New Game Plus after release. A significant amount of time too, because I think they really wanted to do it right. So, in my opinion, they had the gamers in mind that, like, you try to look at that decision on corporate side. it's a waste of time, therefore a waste of money, therefore not worth investing in. But if you were to charge players for it, then it is worth it. That is a corporate mindset. A gamer mindset would be something that Yoshi P, I go back to this interview every time. When Yoshi P added Ninja as a job for free in A Realm Reborn, I know an interviewer asked him, why did you do such a big decision like that? Big content like a new class for free? Why did you do that? Yoshi P simply answered, wouldn't the players like it? Deconstruct every word he said there. He didn't say wouldn't the consumers or customers. No, he said players. Wouldn't the players like it? How would he know he likes it? Because he would want it. He would want a job for free in the game. That's why he did it. And
I mean, that's the advantage. You know, if you are a gamer, you're basically making a game for yourself, and that is going to extend to a wider audience.
And quite honestly, when you know that your developer is a gamer or not a gamer, it shows when you play the game. Quite honestly, it shows when you play the game. And I mean, this is a very old trend, but a lot of the reason why people have been lambasting World of Warcraft is there are just so many signs that the ones behind decision making for the systems clearly don't play the game. And I'm just like,
that does seem to be the case from like interviews that I've seen. Like they just kind of don't get it.
Like even the most basic stuff. Like here is a system. This is a tier set. Literally every casual and hardcore raider to call this a tier set is like calling a cereal a sandwich. They're incompatible. They're not what you think they are. No, absolutely not. I would have said it's like calling a sandwich it's like calling a hamburger a sandwich. I mean,
some people do.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they're not wrong, because what is a sandwich? It's a pair of bread, and there's stuff in the middle. What is a hamburger? Exactly that. But that's why I gave such an outlandish example, like saying that's like. I can't believe I said that example, but that's basically.
I mean,
the worst.
That's a good example.
The worst kind of games, in my opinion, the worst kind of games are the ones where you can clearly see it was not made by someone who plays video games as a passion. The best kind of video games, you can tell it was made by a person who loves video games.
Yeah, for sure. And that makes me think of the Witcher series. I don't know if you ever have played Witcher 1. But,
I have, because as a person who practices swordsmanship, and just to be particular, HEMA swordsmanship, which is historical European martial arts, I had to play the first and the second Witcher games to respect how far Witcher 3 has come.
Yes, and I have. For sure. And yeah, but even going back to Witcher 1, like, obviously, the gameplay, the graphics, none of that is anywhere near even Witcher 2. But you can see the love for the characters and the story that's there from CD Projekt Red. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they played, like, some BioWare games and they were like, this is really good and we want to make something like this. Because the gameplay of Witcher 1 is so similar to KOTOR, in my opinion.
Speaking of BioWare, let me give an example. Dragon Age 1... and Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like, entirely, I don't need to say
evolution.
Anymore. Like, pretty much.
But yeah, there's you can tell, like, even going back to KOTOR. I mean, KOTOR 1 and even 2, like, there's so much love for the Star Wars IP in that, and you can feel it. There's just so many little world building, lore details that they didn't have to include. But they make the world feel so fleshed out, and I love it.
Apathy is death.
Apathy is death.
Apathy is death. I'm just like, whew.
You get T3 beeping and booping, and it just says apathy is death in the text.
No, but honestly, like, I really look forward to that. All right, it's time to put a bow or ribbon on this thing. First off, I'm gonna do my usual thing, proper shoutouts. Okay, so Pedaken, Momohiro, Evil-sided, Yoriichi. I see some names from Vault's chat. Thank you so much for the follows and the hydrates. Even though you were trying to drown me with hydrates, thank you so much.
Speaking of hydrate.
Oh no. The one
No,
thing...
I have a cooldown on mine.
No, not that. This was one thing I was excited and fearing for. Damn it. I reached 201 followers.
Oh.
Dang it.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
I know, but now I have to... I know. I don't have to, but I now have this urge to do something special. Alright, before
I did too.
Yeah.
It faded fast.
Alright, before I roll out the red carpet for my guest, which I always do, just a recap for this week's schedule. Alright, let me hide your ninja for a sec. So tomorrow at 6 in the evening, I'll be streaming Kina Bridge of Spirits. Thursday, I will be resting, but don't forget to attend Soli's debut on that day. It's going to be...
I thought that was Wednesday.
I'm speaking GMT plus 8, so yeah. It's Thursday morning, Wednesday evening.
Okay.
I see. For Soli's debut. Friday, I'll be streaming Kina Bridge of Spirits again. Saturday will be Variety Stream. Variety Stream, expect fighting games. So Tekken 7 and Guilty Gear again on Saturday. Look forward to that. Alright. Red carpet to you, Vault. What do you have coming up for you?
Well, we're still going to be continuing our Breath of the Wild Relics of the Past mod. But in between, I'm going to be sprinkling in some Guilty Gear. And I like to do open rooms with chat. So on the days that I'm doing Guilty Gear, if anybody wants to join in, please do. Please come kick my butt so that I can try to improve.
Now let's be a bit more positive about that, Vault. Chat, Foxtrots, and of course Vault's viewers, whip your ghost, your precious ghost into shape.
Yes. Figuratively and literally with my exercise redeems.
Yes. Oh, Soli's in chat. Hello.
Soli.
All right.
Look forward to it.
All right. Yes, please look forward to it. Dozo otanoshimi ni. Dozo otanoshimi ni. Well, this has been this month's episode of... Oh, thank you for the follow, Clone Man. I've also seen you on Vault's chat.
That's one of my moderators.
Oh, damn, snap. Thank you for the follow. Alright, this has been this month's episode of Shrine Talk. I will see you next month for the next episode. Who knows who my guest will be and what topic? That'll be something to look forward to. But of course, please look forward to also our respective streams. My next stream will be tomorrow in the evening, GMT plus 8. For Vault's Guilty Gear stream, speaking GMT plus 8 wise, it's gonna be in the morning. So if you have time, do drop by. But of course,
I had a lot of fun with this.
Oh yes, thank you. And of course, one of the big debuts this week is Soli's debut. Please let us give her our support. I want to see her debut. I don't want to miss that at all. I'm glad that it's
I'm going to have to. We're streaming at the exact same time,
nice.
But maybe on my stream I'll drop in for a minute or two because I need to sub to you, Soli.
Me, I'm glad that it's a holiday in Japan, so I don't have Japan language classes because I do attend a Japanese school online. So I'm like, yes, I have nothing to keep me away from Soli's debut. I can attend full attention. Maybe clip some Soli sound effects. Who knows? Alright, well, this has been a genuine pleasure. I'm pretty sure we learned a lot about each other and ourselves in this topic of video games. Man, if there's one major takeaway, man, Vault, you are a ghost of culture. First, like, especially when you nerded out when I said Tenchu, I'm like, oh no. Yes. This ghost is a ghost of culture. I like you.
Yes, those were some of my favorite games growing up.
Like, I consider... I mean, it's such an introvert thing to say this, but I kind of hesitate. Like, I want to call you a close friend, but when you said that, I'm like, oh man, I really hope we are close friends now.
I like to think so.
Yes. All right. This has been Inner Ryoko, and of course, my honored guest, Volt. Oh wait, may as well give you a shout out as well. I wonder what you were streaming.
I have no clue.
Oh wait, did I?
I was streaming blank apparently.
Wait, did I? Oh, oops! I added an underscore when I shouldn't have. Let me.
Oh yeah, there's no underscore.
Let me delete that message. I don't know if someone's impostering you as 48 underscore.
You know, I never
Volt.
checked. Never checked.
All right.
I was like, 48 volts not taken. We're going with it. This
All
is
right.
what,
There
this is
you
what
go.
I want.
They were streaming just chatting. I wonder what you were chatting about.
There we go. That makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah. All right. So, are we going to do a dual raid, or are we just going to raid whoever the heck we want?
You can raid whoever you want. I was gonna raid Yokul Iron Fist because he was here earlier, and it's been a while since I've had the opportunity to raid him. I'm not usually awake and streaming at this hour.
Ah, I see. Or darn, none of the ones I want to raid are online. They must be asleep. Dang it. Oh well, that's how the cookie crumbles, I guess. Oh well. If y'all want to continue the raid with Volt, you can feel free to leave my chat and join Volt's chat right now. I already gave him a shout out on the chat section, so just click on his link. He should be there, so when he raids, he's ready to go. All right. Yeah, that's our ending greeting, I guess.
I'm getting my raid started.
Thank you for attending
Now or never.
episode 4 of Shrine Talk with Inner Ryoko, and I look forward to hosting the next episode for you guys.
All right, bye everybody. This
Bye
was really
everybody.
fun.
Yes, I really hope you had fun. I'm glad. I guess I want to say I'm glad you had fun.
Yes, I had a ton of fun.
Awesome.
We definitely need to do more soon.
Oh yeah.
Of something.
Probably yeah. Well, I'll pick more specific topics in the future. All right, I'm gonna stop the stream now. Bye guys.
Yep. Bye everybody.